What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Happy WandaVision day after. Happy MCU fans to everybody out there. It's going to be a fun discussion today. We're talking episode 8 of WandaVision, which was titled Previously On. And we also have a couple MCU news to discuss a little bit later in the stream when we get to that portion. But I am so excited to be here. This is one of my favorite things of the week that I always look forward to, is getting to this channel, going live with you all, with my incredible co-host, with some amazing guests that we have that we're going to be bringing in here shortly. But before we get into it, guys, do me a favor. If you're watching this live, number one, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you all coming in today. Do me a favor, give the video a thumbs up, helps out the channel a lot, but also share the video, hit that little share button, tweet it out, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you want to do. Let's get some Marvel fans in here. Let's get some WandaVision fans in here, and let's break it all down and have a great discussion. And also, this is live, so go ahead and leave all your questions, your comments, your thoughts, your theories in the live chat. We'll try to attend to them as best as we can, but also if you're watching this on the replay, leave your thoughts in the comments. With that being said, I want to introduce my incredible co-hosts who come on every single week, drop some knowledge, have a great discussion, starting with my friend up north. We got Amanda back. What's going on, Amanda?
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. This is like my favorite part of the week, to be here with you and Chris and then all the wonderful people we bring in. I'm excited.
It's a good time to be a Marvel fan, man. I mean, we got WandaVision, we got, Falcon and Winter Soldier next week. We got some great stuff to look forward to, and we got this episode to look forward to, which I don't know about you, Amanda, but I had to get some tissues next to me because I was pretty emotional in this episode. So we're going to break it all down. But Amanda, again, if this is someone's first time tuning in, if you want to let the people know where they can find you, go right ahead.
Yeah, you guys can find me at AMXND Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can check out my website, candidxcinema.com, and my YouTube, Candid Cinema. I will be dropping my Golden Globe predictions very soon.
Golden Globes, that is a discussion to be had. I can't wait to see all that coverage, you guys. Again, Amanda, a great co-host, a great content creator. Check her out. And we also have my buddy Chris, who joins us every single Saturday, bringing in some great takes. We're talking about Tay's Take. Chris, what's going on, my friend? How we doing today, man?
What's up? What's up? Happy Saturday. Look, the chat already going crazy for your haircut. I already gave you a little shout out.
Hey, man.
The haircut getting more love than the episode right now. It's neck and neck.
But yeah, I had to talk to Wanda. I had to switch it up. I had to get in this decade because I was looking like a caveman for a while. So Wanda gave me permission to get a haircut. So glad to have you back on, Chris, man. If you want to let the people know where they can find you, man, let them know, man.
Yeah, for sure. I'm your boy Chris Tate, creator of Tate's Take on YouTube. Really excited to be here. If you guys want to check out my content, I'm doing movie and TV reviews. Give you a little background. All my information is in the link in the bio for this video, so you can get my YouTube links. And then besides that, in my about, you'll have my Instagram, my Twitter, all that stuff. You want to reach out to me, my email address. If you have any business inquiries, we can do business together. But yeah, just happy to be here. If you want to, check it out, and let's go to the network.
Yes, sir. Definitely do yourself a favor, ladies and gentlemen. My amazing co-hosts, all their links are in the bio. So excited to be here with you all. And one thing I look forward to, as well as these talking to my wonderful co-hosts, is these guests that we get on. I'm so honored, so privileged to have them on and hear their takes on these episodes and MCU stuff. And we've had some great guests, and we continue that trend today, starting with this gentleman here. If you have answers, if you have questions to say, he has the answers. If you're not really too sure what you just watched, whether it be a movie, a show, WandaVision, he breaks it down. I don't know where he finds the time to do all these incredible edits and dive deep into these shows and movies, but he does it. He does a great job on it. Talking about the one and only Paul from Heavy Spoilers. What's going on, Paul?
Hey, everyone. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. How's it going?
Going good, man. We're talking WandaVision.
Yeah. Lovely.
Yes, man. Again, it's so I'm so happy for you to be here, Paul. I'm so excited to pick your brain apart with all these theories, and we'll talk about Mephisto. We'll talk about Nightmare. We'll talk about all this stuff. No more Mephisto. We'll see what comes with the finale. But Paul, man, if this is for whatever reason the first time someone's seen you on YouTube and they're not sure where they can find you, man, where can the wonderful people find you? What's your channel all about, man? The stage is yours.
Yeah, Heavy Spoilers. We do spoiler reviews at Heavy Spoilers on Twitter. That's basically it. Yeah, does what it says on the tin, spoils stuff, and we'll talk about Easter eggs, but we'll have fun doing it as well. There's a lot of fun, and I love you guys to check out the channel.
Definitely do yourself a favor, guys. Again, he spoils stuff, but he also has the sense of humor, Paul, that you have in your videos. The puns, I think you should change your name to the Pun King, man, because you have some great puns, man. I love your videos.
I called myself the Punisher for a while.
There you
It was
go.
so bad, I stopped doing it.
The zingers are already coming in, man. I'm so excited to have you on today, Paul, and to dive into this episode. And we also have another wonderful guest here. This guy, if you're ever down and out, if you want some inspiration, if you want to know about these comic book characters, movie news, breaking news, you want to have a great follow on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, this is the man to follow. So excited to have him on. So excited to have the energy that he brings on the channel. I'm talking about the one and only Matthew from Soups. What's going on, man?
Welcome. Damn it. Welcome. Why am I saying welcome? Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to talk about WandaVision, the MCU. We have so much to talk about. I'm just ready to get right into it. I'm ready.
So much, man. And again, Soups, man, if you want to let the people know where they can find you, man, tell them a little about your content, man. The stage is yours, my friend.
Of course, guys. So first of all, thank you for tuning in. I cannot wait to talk about all the awesome stuff. But you guys, if you guys are interested in seeing more superhero content from me, I'm always talking about superheroes, Marvel, DC, and all of the awesome stuff that's going down in the world of superheroes. You guys can follow me on TikTok, Soups, on YouTube, Soups. We're about to hit 100K, so please go check me out on YouTube. Nice. And then on Instagram, _Soups_, and then on Twitter, @TheRealSoups. So I'm ready to get into it. Let's go.
Let's do it. You heard the man. Check them out. The links are in the bio. 1K is just around the corner, man. And your channel, your content's incredible with Paul as well. Amanda, Chris. Again, I can't be more thankful as the host today to have you guys on. So before we dive into it, we definitely got some love in the chat. Want to say what's going on to everybody that came in early. Everyone saying hi. What's going on? Nice. Yeah, we're talking about the haircut. Yes, I got a haircut finally. We got some people that's definitely here to check out the guest that we have, Soups. We got some love for Soups. We got some love.
Let's go.
So it's going to be a good time. So before we dive into it, this is your first time, Matthew and Paul, being on the channel. Starting with you, Paul. Just your initial thoughts of the first 7 episodes before we dive deep into this 8th episode. Where were you at with the show? Were you loving it? Were you surprised? Is it disappointing? What's your general take?
So I kind of felt like Vision a bit throughout the show. I think he was such a great person to kind of connect with, because I very much started off from the perspective of I don't have any idea what's going on, and the first 2 episodes really lost me, and then the third one I was a bit like it's getting better, and then that whole twist in episode 4 where we saw things from Monica's perspective and started to learn exactly what was going on, that was when it really sunk its claws into me, and kind of it just opened up the world so much. And I thought, wow, they've really captured something special here. Once you start getting the blanks sort of filled in and the general context behind what's going on, it just makes the show so engaging. And your questions, it's very fourth wall breaking in a number of ways, because the show itself is almost a meta commentary on how sitcoms have been done over the past 50 years or so.
Right.
Well, 70 years really now, isn't it? I keep whenever someone says the year 2000, I think it was about 2 years ago.
I know, right?
Yeah. So when people say the 80s and stuff, I'm like 20 years ago, but it was 70 years ago, the 50s. But totally derailed it. Okay. You can kind of see the evolution of how things have gone on. And it's very fourth wall breaking to have almost a sitcom that's doing satire on sitcoms.
Yeah.
And to see it so well executed, it was really good, and it kept me coming back. But I didn't really attach fully to those first 2 episodes. And then as it's gone on more and more, and you really understand what's going on, it's so well made, and it's so fourth wall breaking for a number of reasons, such as Jimmy asking questions that we ask.
I love it.
Darcy being almost an audience member who is the same as us. And there was even a possibility at one point where I thought it was a show within a show, because all of the S.W.O.R.D characters sort of fit stereotypes almost. You had Hayward, who was the annoying boss. You had the nerdy assistant and Darcy. Right. You had the strong, ready for action, throwing herself in at the deep end type of main character in Monica. And it's just done every single genre so well. It's difficult not to be enamored by it. And Marvel just, I don't know how they do it, but they just keep knocking it out of the park. So anyway, first long story short, first 2 episodes didn't really enjoy them. Third one I was like, fourth one absolutely hooked. 5 excellent, especially with the Quicksilver cliffhanger. 6 was the Halloween one. Yeah, no, was it? I don't know. Yeah, 6 was the Halloween one.
Yep.
Yeah.
7 was the Modern Family one.
Yep.
And excellent, perfect.
I think you summed it up perfectly, Paul. I think this is almost like reminiscence to the first phase of Marvel, right? It's just kind of as the films went on, we got to attach to the characters, we kind of see what they're doing. And here we are now, 13 years later, and we got our first MCU show. So I think it's just kind of come full circle with Kevin Feige and that crew. But same question to you, tossing it to you, Matt, in regards to just your take on the first 7 episodes, where your head was at with the show. And as we approach the 8th episode and into the finale next week, WandaVision, man, is it working for you?
Yeah, so first of all, to get back into MCU content is a blessing. To hear that Marvel intro every single week, it just puts a smile on my face and it lights me up inside. But I've loved the shows from beginning to end. You know, this last episode that we just experienced, episode 8, when I initially watched it, I thought it was pretty underwhelming. But after going back and rewatching it and putting on a different lens to watch the episode and really viewing it as a character study for the character of Wanda, they've really taken this show and taken these 2 side characters of Wanda and Vision, and they've made them so much more lovable. They've really, Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen deserve all of the awards in the world for their performances on this show, because since the first episode where we were in like a 50s sitcom, just seeing them in a living room bounce off each other, it was so entertaining. So this show has progressed from, again, that 50 sitcom all the way to like the modern day MCU, and it's been such a wild journey. And my only negative about the show isn't something they can control, it's just something from the fans, is that we don't get enough each and every single week. You know, it's so good, but we're just left wanting more and more. And now going into the final episode next week, we are starving to see how this all comes to a crazy end. But seeing the intricacies, really the small things, the Easter eggs, the details that spark the theories. I've never theorized and speculated so much for a show in my entire life. And the fact that every single week we're on social media, we're all talking about it, we're all theorizing.
Yeah.
So quote Agatha, I have a theory, but I need more. Then the next week comes and our theories get obliterated and the show just goes in a completely different direction. They just continue to do the unexpected. And going into this final episode, again, we have our theories, but the reality of the situation is that this episode is going to come, and as soon as it starts, our theories are going to go out the window, and we're going to get introduced into something completely new, something we didn't expect. So I've loved the show from beginning to end. I'm so happy to be back in, you know, like a Marvel time period where they're just dropping content left and right. And the fact that this show ends and we have a bye week and then Falcon and the Winter Soldier is just absolutely insane to me. This is the beginning of Marvel's takeover. People thought Marvel peaked with Endgame. They said they were done with Endgame. They haven't even gotten started now that we have content coming out on Disney Plus in the movies. What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive is right, Matthew. You said it so perfectly too. It's just like one of these things with Marvel and TV, as you just alluded to, the theories, the conversations, everything to be had about this show is what this show has given us. And for the future, the MCU is looking bright as a shining star. And I'm just so happy to be back in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this show has just been knocking out of the park. So with that being said, you know, let's go ahead and kick things off with previously on WandaVision episode 8, which was slated at 46 minutes, you know, about 38 minutes. We know the title, which I'm coming to appreciate. I always love seeing the people that make the show. And there's even either Easter eggs in the end credits in regards to, you know, the crowns and all the different things that we see that they try to explain us. But it was 38 minutes, and we'll talk about the post-credit scene a little bit later. But kicking the recap off, as we kind of talked about last week on last week's stream, I kind of predicted, a lot of us kind of agreed that we assumed it was going to be a flashback episode to kind of get a little bit more of the character development, like Matthew said, which I think has been so great with Elizabeth Olsen. But also Agatha, we get to learn more about Agatha Harkness. And there's still something to be said about that character in regards to kind of relating to Wanda. I don't know if you guys, like Matthew said, I rewatched the episode before we went live and kind of revisiting that moment when we see her kind of essentially saying, you know, help me learn this powers, help me learn my magic. She says to her mother, you know, help me. But she has this kind of villainous side. And we talked about Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, home runs every single episode. Catherine Hahn, if there is some type of award that could be given to her performance, supporting character, whatever you want to call it, give it to her, because she is so great in this scene. She's vulnerable, but she also has this villainous thing that she has going with the smirk on her face when she's talking to her coven, when she's talking to her mom. I don't know if you all noticed it, but there was, as we see the witches again going to the recap, it's, you know, we're in Salem, 1693. And we see that she's on the stake, very similar to the comics, but a little bit of MCU twist on it. As they're trying to take Agatha out, she's absorbing their powers. And also there's like an orange aura around them trying to absorb her powers, which reminded me a lot of that book that we saw last week. I don't know if there is some type of connections to, again, who taught Agatha about using the dark magic, who pushed her towards that direction. You know, I know the Mephisto and all that stuff is out there, but really, who is the one that kind of taught her that? So just kicking it to you first, Amanda, that opening sequence, the origins of sorts from Agatha, very dark, to mind you. We saw some witches get their souls sucked out of them. What was your thoughts about this opening scene here?
I loved it. I love her. She has made the series what it is, to be perfectly honest. Without Catherine Hahn, I do think that like she's one of the best like villains. I thought she was fantastic. And I love knowing where they come from and why, like what makes them tick, what got them to where they are. So I thought that was a great opening, a very strong opening for her. And I'm so excited to see what else she's going to do in the MCU, because you can't just have her in this. You can't. It's impossible.
They don't kill her next week. I so hope they don't do that.
I swear to God, if they do.
Amanda, I'm sorry, but I think she's going to get obliterated.
No. I'll
Scarlet Witch is coming, my friends.
Oh my God, I'll literally go off. I really will. But I love her so much. But yeah, that was a great opening. Really strong.
Chris, man, tossing it to you. We talked a little bit about it off screen before we went live. The dark nature of this opening sequence and how Marvel's embracing the supernatural side of the MCU. Blade, Moon Knight, you know, Doctor Strange, and Into the Multiverse. Just kind of your thoughts on that opening sequence. And did you feel from Catherine Hahn? Was she just being deceptive, or was she calling for help from her mother and her coven?
Yeah, it was a lot to kick off. And as soon as the episode started, I thought right away, I was like, damn, we just talked about this last week. Like a flashback episode. I was like, damn, I'll go point for us. But I thought this scene was cool. I got the vibe that she was kind of like Loki-ish. Like you just can't really trust her because she was giving like these weird smirks. So I was like, man, I don't know. Because at first I was like, she's like wants to her mom. And then she was like, gave that smirk. And I was like, oh, damn, I can't trust her. I think my only criticism of the whole scene, it didn't feel like that old. Like it didn't feel like it was in 1693. They didn't change too much of like how they shot it, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So it didn't feel that old, but like I was still like, okay, cool. I love this episode as a whole, but I think the opening was probably like my least favorite part of it. But it was, the whole episode was dope.
Another thing I only noticed on a second watch was they actually de-aged Catherine Hahn.
I was going to bring that up. I didn't want to, she's a beautiful woman, but I didn't want to, I didn't know if they did that. But thank you. I'm glad I'm not the only one that noticed that.
But they didn't Luke Skywalker it in The Mandalorian. They didn't it was very subtle, very subtle.
And then, she looks older at the end of the episode too, which kind of speaks to her being, kind of ancient and all that. But I mean, just kicking it to you, Paul, in regards to just your thoughts on the opening sequence, were there things you kind of pulled out? And in regards to, is there something to be said about her? Who pushed her going towards practicing this dark magic?
Okay, so the scene itself pulls from Agatha's death in the comics, which is when she was burned on a pyre by the Salem 7. And it's sort of something similar. The Salem 7 were basically witches. And I when it first started off, I thought, she's going to be as part of the Salem witch trials, but they kind of tied it in more with her death. But instead of her getting killed, it kind of backfired for them, and she ended up taking over them. Now, as for the magic, throughout the show, we've kind of seen how certain colors are associated with certain magics. So orange is always the more standard. You're in control of everything. And that's why Doctor Strange, the Ancient One, whenever they cast a spell, it's always orange. Right. Red is sort of your chaos magic, which is what Wanda does. And it's chaos, basically. So you can't really control it. Purple is it's the dark dimension, because Dormammu, that's what he uses. And if you look in Doctor Strange, Caecilius, his eyes are purple when when he starts becoming darker. So she's clearly pulling from the dark dimension, which would have to have her in contact with someone behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, so it's either Dormammu, Mephisto. Don't tell anyone if I'm saying Mephisto. Nightmare potentially.
Yeah.
Chthon. I always pronounce that wrong because
I think it's yeah. I think
Chthon.
Yeah.
He wrote the Darkhold as well, which is the book that she potentially has. Yeah, so that kind of ties in with that. And in the comics, he actually appeared as Quicksilver at one point. He possessed Quicksilver. So we're getting sort of a possession of Quicksilver. He was also the person that gave Wanda her powers when she was younger. And in this episode, we learn that she had powers before, the Mind Stone, all the Hydra stuff. So potentially, it's him. But I know every week that I'm like, I'm telling you, it's this. It's actually this guy. Ignore the last prediction. So yeah, I think it's him.
That would be, again, we've gotten some introductions to some characters in this show, whether it be obviously Monica Rambeau becoming Spectrum, Scarlet Witch now, and obviously Agatha Harkness. So there is, I think, still a mysterious character that we'll talk a little bit about later in regards to potentially behind the scenes. But tossing it to you, Matthew, regarding your thoughts on this opening sequence, kind of your thoughts on a little bit of what Paul was saying regarding pulling the strings behind the scenes, who kind of influenced Agatha to kind of embrace this darker side, and just your general take on this opening sequence of her origins of sorts.
So I loved it, and I loved how they opened up the episode with Agatha, because the last episode ended with like the Agatha reveal, and because we haven't really gotten her being her own character across the entire show, it was really refreshing to see them open it up with just her being full Agatha Harkness. There's a ton of speculation of whether or not she was like truly like telling the truth, but we've seen Agnes putting up this act the whole show. I just cannot trust her. You gotta take her out while you can. So I thought she was just evil the whole way through. Yeah. And I think Chthon, again, I'm sure we all speculate like Mephisto or Nightmare at first, but now it seems like Chthon is more of a likely pick to be someone that's pulling the strings behind the scenes because of his connections to the Darkhold, the Dark Dimension, to Wanda. So I think they're gonna go in the Chthon direction. But again, this is a theory that's going to get obliterated at the beginning of next episode. I know it already. So,
It is so interesting about these different villains too, because again, with one episode left, I don't want to say they can't do it, but it would be kind of interesting to see them introduce this big bad in one episode. I don't know if they would be saving it for a Spider-Man, No Way Home, or saving it for a Doctor Strange. It might be like a post-credit scene in regards to this, villain coming up behind the scenes, or they've been manipulating the situation the whole time. So it will be interesting to see if we do get a big bad that's essentially behind Agatha, because again, like Paul was kind of alluding to with the comics, traditionally speaking, she's a mentor of Wanda. And you can even see Agatha not necessarily giving her tips, but she's kind of telling her certain things as we transition to the next scene. And we see her, with Wanda being in her possession, and she's talking about the manipulation of magic, and she doesn't know the foundations of magic. And she's giving her these little hints, these little tidbits. Again, it's a villainous way, and Kathryn Hahn is just hamming it up in this scene, but she's somewhat giving her little tidbits of how to use her powers. As we see again, Kathryn Hahn is just, as she talks about her accent cutting in and out, when she acts with her children. And again, just the humor of Kathryn Hahn is like perfect MCU comedy for me. But she alludes to the spells on the wall that Wanda, which is kind of confusing to me, that she's just like this super powered being a Scarlet Witch, but she can't break the rules of like using her magic. Again, we don't know the full magic. Maybe they'll explain in Doctor Strange 2 and explore more of the magical elements of this. But as we kind of see her mention something that was pretty important from a perspective of who is Pietro, she mentions that, it was Pietro in regards to her brother last week, and we're how he was the eyes and ears of the character. So again, tossing it to you, Amanda, just your thoughts on this Pietro situation. Is it Evan Peters from X-Men? Is it someone else entirely? Is it the person in Protection Program? What's your thoughts on this reveal of Pietro?
It broke my heart. Honestly, you know how much I love him, and I so desperately wanted a Fox connection, a Fox a Marvel connection. And when she said that, I was like, you know what, that dream is crushed. It's not happening. And I think that, and I can't say this, I was talking to Chris before. I'm like, I was so underwhelmed with this episode, and I hate that I hate it so much and that I have to say it that way. It was great for character development, don't get me wrong, with Wanda, but it's just the fact that like that entire storyline with Pietro, they kind of played us. And I am very heartbroken about it. But I guess like that was my expectation. And like with our theories, like I guess that's why it's so difficult to watch these episodes unfold, because we're wrong majority of the time. You know what I mean? So with Pietro, you just see what Agatha's capable of. And I think that is what is amazing to watch, even like Wanda's reaction to what Agatha's telling her. And seeing like teaching her that magic was really cool, just going through the steps. And Wanda just feels like helpless at that point. Like when she was like throwing her around like wall to wall, I'm like, damn. It's like, okay. I was like, that's it's pretty rough, right? So I really enjoyed Agatha's storyline in this case, but with Wanda's, I know we're going into the depths of her mind and her trauma. I get that. But I feel like we kind of knew where it was coming from already. And I know that people are like, yeah, but they have to like move it along in a different way and show different sides of it. Like, I totally get it. But for me, I was just like, okay, we know that this, and this happened. But I guess to explore that for Wanda's sake as a character, I completely understand why they had to do it.
For sure, for sure. I mean, tossing to you, Chris, regarding this, I still think that the Quicksilver moment is coming next week in regards to him having his vision, waking him out of this trance, and maybe revealing that he does come from another multiverse. And however Agatha was able to pull, we learned from, not this week but last week, the Nexus commercial with Wanda being a Nexus being. She's the gateway to multi dimensions, which might explain why Agatha would want to have some of her powers or to mentor her to maybe go to different dimensions. But just your thoughts on, again, this fake Pietro being the eyes and ears of Agatha. But once the eyes and ears are gone, who is this Pietro? Is this someone we could trust? Is it someone that we might have seen in the past X-Men films?
Yeah, what I took away from this episode, like same thing with Amanda, not about hating this episode.
I didn't say I hated it. I said I was underwhelmed. Relax.
But from Amanda, she was like kind of like sad that it wasn't from the X-Men, because to me the episode made it clear that it's not. And I thought the tell from that whole episode was when Agatha tells her like, you were so like traumatized that you let this happen, like you fell for this. So I think it was just a troll from Marvel to like troll the audience, but also it's like we know that it's still coming down the line, meaning like the X-Men crossover. So I'm still like, I'm sad that it's not like right here, right now, but but I'm still like, at least we're getting it. But I don't think Quicksilver wakes up next week. I think it's like we were just trolling you guys onto the next. I mean, and I get it. I mean, hey, we fell for it. It's all good.
I'm holding out hope, Chris. But go ahead.
It's like they had us in the first half. I'm not gonna lie. It's like pretty much exactly like how I felt about it. But yeah, and then Catherine Hahn's like bars in this episode were like top tier. The fake Pietro, like non-stop bars, like just literally dragging Wanda through this traumatizing museum and just trolling her, like not having any sympathy, like. That's just really sad, right? This is where your family dies. Like some dark shit. Like, so Catherine Hahn, all the way. I echo your sentiment about her awards and all that kind of stuff. So
Amanda said it earlier, man. I think she's I mean, of course, there's the Killmongers, there's the Thanos, there's the Vultures, there's the Hellas of the world, but she is climbing up that rankings for like just MCU villains. And I Matt, I hope you're wrong, man. I hope we get more of her. They don't kill her off in the next week's finale. But tossing it to you, Paul. Again, just kind of diving in for Pietro. I don't know, man. Again, it's hard to manipulate magic, but we saw him doing Quicksilver stuff in WandaVision. I think we're going to get, the X-Men scenes that we got in, Days of Future Past, X-Men Apocalypse. I think we're going to get that scene next week because he's going to be revealed to be an actual Quicksilver. But hey, one can only hope, man. What was your take on just kind of this the Quicksilver?
Yeah, I agree. I think he is actually Quicksilver.
Yeah.
I think what's happened is that she's tried to bring her brother back to life. And that is why they discussed necromancy. But instead of going across a continent, they just went into the multiverse. Because if they don't do this, it's such a missed opportunity
Yes,
to
it
have.
is.
It's like the biggest missed opportunity you could have to recast Evan Peters as Quicksilver and not have him be the actual Quicksilver.
Right.
And I think he will get his Quicksilver scene next week, definitely.
Hopefully.
And I think it's gonna be him rescuing the townsfolk. That would be my
as
guess.
the hex collapses or
Yeah,
something.
so I think the hex is going to come crumbling in, and he's basically going to have to save everyone inside of it, and you're just going to get a massive tour of the hex as he runs around, getting everyone that he can.
Yeah.
You just got me even more excited now, and if it doesn't happen, I'm gonna be sad.
Well, I mean, that's the next question, Paul. What's the song? What's the Quicksilver song that we're gonna get in that scene? As we know, we got the famous songs of him and X-Men. Is it gonna be an original song that they've made? Agatha,
Needs to be the same song.
Anger.
Yeah, I'd like Sweet Dreams again.
Sweet Dreams,
yeah, just again because it's a nightmare. There's so many times that they use the phrase dreams and nightmare that I think remixing Sweet Dreams.
Oh, that would be great.
Doing like a different version of it, I think would be really good.
What about you, Matthew, in regards to fingers crossed, man? Do you want to see it be Quicksilver, or are you okay with it just being not necessarily a troll, but just kind of why do you bring in Evan Peters? You know, like why would you bring in that character? And it's also something to be said that this MCU, this timeline, this world that we're in, there are no Infinity Stones. So there are no rules to this universe. There's no Reality Stone. So again, it might be very easily explained that we have these characters bleeding into this world because there's no Infinity Stones to keep things at bay. But what's your thoughts on Quicksilver, man?
So when it comes to Quicksilver, I agree with all of you guys. Like, why would you cast Evan Peters, but not bring, the baggage of his awesome Quicksilver from the Fox universe? It's
right.
It's illogical to like not have him be that version of Quicksilver, because then the question is, all right, so then why didn't Aaron Taylor Johnson come back if his only purpose was to traumatize Wanda?
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's a weird situation. I hope that we get that slow-mo scene next week. That would be pretty damn awesome. Mm-hmm. And that's just fan service at its finest. But with this final episode, I mean, it was confirmed earlier today that the episode is going to be around 50 minutes long. Mm-hmm. With it only being 50 minutes long, it feels like this episode has to do a lot of different things. So I don't know if they're going to really give us that Quicksilver payoff. I would love to see it happen. But this final episode has to do a lot of things. So I don't think we're going to get the Quicksilver payoff.
I mean, you're breaking my heart there, Matthew. I mean, he is quick, so it could be a quick scene. They're all pun intended there.
I hope so.
It would be a very good. I think next week will be an action-packed episode with some good moments. Again, Paul Bettany. Again, we'll talk about Paul Bettany and his trolling the internet of working with maybe himself the best explosive scenes. But he did say that this show has more VFX than in-game, so we might get those in-game moments next week with some good battles. But we'll talk about Paul Bettany and Vision versus Vision a little bit later. But in regards to the next big portion, this is where the show kind of got me on an emotional moment. And this is where I love about this show in regards to what I connect to with the show is, number one, the idea of let's just look at ourselves as people, right? Whether we come from losing a lost one, we have a bad day at work, we're just not having a good day in general. I can speak for myself. Whenever I'm having a bad day, I resort to watching my favorite movies, my favorite shows to kind of get me in that mindset. And this moment here where we see Wanda having family fun night, we learn that her dad, sells these movies in Sokovia, but it's also a learning tool for them to learn English. But also, this is just a family fun night to watch these shows. And this is a great moment. People have been wanting the answers. This explains why the Hex is the way it is. This is why we see the Dick Van Dyke Show, I Love Lucy, Malcolm in the Middle, and all the shows we've seen so far. Is because this is what Wanda grew up on. So just this whole sequence, again, Agatha's impressed with her power. She takes her, as Chris said, to this museum of therapy session because she has been suffering from pain and loneliness. And as we're into this scene, Amanda, kicking it to you first, before we get to the explosion, the little girl in this episode, by the way, was all the kid actors. I love, Billy and Tommy. They're great. And this young girl here was fantastic. But just your thoughts on this scene of Wanda's parents, which I don't know if it was me, but when I was watching this episode, I thought for a split second when her dad took off her hat, I thought that was Michael Fassbender, which I was like freaking out for a second.
I would have died. Do you understand?
That would have been, but I still think there's going to be a big reveal that I think that these are her adopted parents. And
agreed.
Someone gave them to her, to these two parents. But just your thoughts on this opening sequence here with her family sharing a movie night.
Oh my God, I loved it. I love this one. This was my favorite flashback. Well, technically, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But I absolutely loved it because when they pulled out the Dick Van Dyke box set, I have the exact same box set.
Nice.
So I was like, oh my God, I love that they did that. And it's like a newer box set. I'm like, I see you guys. I see what you're doing. But it was just a cute moment because like I even share that with my parents. So I think everyone can like relate to that as well if they've watched shows with their parents or movies in that case.
Yep.
But like just seeing the luggage or like sorry not the luggage the briefcase filled with all of those shows, I thought was just so wonderful, and that's why she did it. Like I love that connection. I thought it was so well done because it's hard to like pick which shows to like incorporate and what had meaning to her. And I really enjoyed that they did Bewitched and the Brady Bunch, and even like later on when she's in the cell, like I believe she's watching the Brady Bunch. And it was just like those connections. It also shows that everyone has those comfort shows or those comfort movies, and for Wanda to kind of hold on to that for her entire life while going through that trauma is something that we can all take away from. So that was my favorite part of this episode. It was fantastic.
You hit the nail on the head there, Amanda, in regards to it's a coping mechanism, right? It's something that she goes back to. It's something that she can relate to in regards to when she's sad and out. These are the moments that she shared with her parents and her brother that unfortunately passed away. So, I mean, Chris, man, this is what I love about the show. We have Scarlet Witch, we have Vision, we have superheroes, but it's the human stories, it's the human moments that I can connect to that makes me relate to these characters. So how did you kind of take in that scene before we see the tragic, Tony Stark missile coming into the living room, but just your take on this whole setup here, man?
Damn, Tony. Always messing up.
Tony. It's all Tony.
Yeah. When you're not saving the universe, you're really messing things up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I have no complaints with this with all the flashback scenes. My favorite scene was the the Vision scene, but this one we'll get there. But this scene was dope, and I love the kid actors here, but both the brother and the sister, and it helped me understand, because like the first 2 episodes of the show, I was like, what the hell? Like, because I never watched those old shows. No offense to any, I'm not, I just never watched them, but it helped me understand. Okay, cool. Like it was like something with their family, like, and everyone, most families can have like, that are watching the show WandaVision have a memory of their family watching. I remember growing up, we gathered around watching, to TGIF and all that kind of stuff. Yep. So it's like everyone can, not everyone, but a lot of people can really relate to those moments. The kids are great, and I love like the brother Pietro was like, oh, we have to watch this one again, and then if you kind of think like, oh, they're gonna make him like some like mean like older brother type. Yeah. And then the thing starts and he's like all into it, laughing and joking. I was like, damn, this is a good kid. This is a good kid, man. Hate to see him go. But I was all about that. It was good.
It's a great moment, man. And oh man, just your thoughts on before we get to this missile crashing the party. Just your thoughts on, again, the little girl actress. The reveal of the reason we have this hex of these flashbacks or these sitcoms is because she grew up on them. Just your whole take on that sequence, man.
Yeah. So back to the Magneto thing.
Yeah.
Dad was called Auric, which Magneto's name's Eric.
Yeah, I like
little multiverse thing there.
Oh, my hero.
But really good, because you kind of see how poor that Wanda is, and that she basically lives in an active war zone, right? And it's very dangerous. And the only thing that she really has is her family. Yeah. It's not so much the sitcoms; it's more kind of the entire environment of just being with her family, sitting around and enjoying this thing all together. And then that's just taken away in a flash. And you really get, the highs of it. And you do know it's coming in the scene. Right. When you start it, you're like, something bad's going to happen. And it's just the dynamics almost of that really high. Like, I was watching it the other day, and I love how they just, I tend to watch the episodes about 3 times. And just noticing that they cut the audio out from the Dick Van Dyke show, and instead of playing the audio from the show, they just have like swelling orchestral music over the top of it, and it really gets you emotionally involved. And seeing the kids laughing, I think, works really well, getting the close-ups, and you know, it's playing with your heartstrings. Just having the dad having the dad coming in and having this box of unsold DVDs and being like, don't worry, I will sell them tomorrow. And you're like, oh man, these guys are really struggling. And then to have the bomb on top of it's emotional, very emotional.
Yeah,
it's just a gut punch.
It really is, man. And again, it builds character. This is character development 101. You know, it's kind of obviously in the first 4 films we saw Wanda in, we didn't have that much time to spend with her. We hear it in exposition and we hear it in Age of Ultron when she talks about when she's 10 years old, but we actually get to see the scene. So it's so interesting that we get to kind of Marvel in a way. It doesn't retcon, but they kind of go back and give you those moments that we didn't see in those films. But
and real quick, just to jump on that too, like, you know, to Paul's point, to add on that, like, a lot of times we see scenes like this in like other movies and TV shows where it's like the third world country family and all that. It's kind of like grim and like it is bleak outside. Yeah, but the family's not really like happy about it. Like this family, we're more invested too because we're like, damn, like they're just happy. Like they don't even like they're like fine. They're just happy to be like they're just so thankful just to have each other. Like I thought that was a nice little like touch too.
Very true, man. Very true. I mean, Matthew, man, your thoughts on this this sequence here before we get to the bomb and a really big moment of Wanda having powers. But just your thoughts on this scene, man, and just the emotional intake that you had in this moment.
So I love this scene. Going into this show, I didn't think it was needed, but after watching it, it humanized the character so much, and it did so much for us as an audience to care about this character so much more and to understand her pain and her grief and her struggles of her entire story. I also think this scene did such a great job in its parallel structure. You know, her and her family are in this little bubble just of sitcom goodness. Mm-hmm. And outside of that bubble is just the real world. It's an entire war zone. Right. And it's super dark. And then I think that plays into what's happening right now in WandaVision. Her and her family, Vision and the kids, they're in this little bubble. And yeah, outside it's not a war zone, but her being outside feels like she's in a war zone mentally. Mm-hmm. So I think that was just some beautiful parallel structure. I loved the way the scene was shot. Like when they're watching the show and the entire family's smiling and it's just focusing in. Again, like Paul said, it cuts the audio, music is swelling and it cuts in and it just focuses on this little girl with a genuine smile on her face. And then in a split second, that is one of the last times we really see an innocent, happy Wanda in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It's a great point, man. And transition right into that moment, the bomb comes, you know, the family, her family's taken away from her. As we know, with her brother being taken away, the Avengers being taken away, Vision's being taken away. She just has loss on loss. I mean, she's the most tragic character in the MCU, as she is in the comics as well. But going into that moment, you know, the bomb comes. We've heard her talk about it with Pietro and Age of Ultron, but actually seeing it and see, you know, caring for those characters just in a matter of like 3 minutes. We see the bomb comes in, you know, it's cut so well, shot so well. As you know, the bomb's in front of her. As you mentioned, Paul, the audio's out, but she can still see Dick Van Dyke. It's still playing on the TV there. And she says, you know, her brother helps her little brother, and they're in the rubbish of the house coming down. And, you know, we see Wanda. Wanda don't. She has powers, ladies and gentlemen. She's always had her. She uses the Force. She uses the Force, man. She uses her Hex ability. She kind of kept it. Who knows if she's ever used it before, but she's kept it quiet, obviously, or she's, as we know, she suppresses things. She keeps things under. But kicking it to you, Amanda, we're getting that big reveal. Again, not retconning, but again, when we first met Wanda in Age of Ultron, the miracles, it's the age of the miracles. They're not mutants, they're miracles. But now it seems like Marvel's embracing that she might have had some X gene prior to becoming, getting in contact with the Mind Stone. Just your thoughts on that moment of, are mutants on their way to the MCU?
Of course they are. Of course they are. They better be, just saying. And if they're not, because like this whole show is just stressing me out, as you've seen every single week. But I actually glared at the screen when I saw the Stark Industries missile. I'm like, really, Tony? Just really? You know what I mean? Like every time, like you're always there. You're always there at the worst moment. And like, it's so annoying.
Yeah.
Like it's just that really like pained me, even though we knew, just seeing it again, you're like, God, like why? But she totally has powers, because even like the framing and like that moment alone, you could totally see that there was something more that they were trying to like show the audience in that case. So I think that they did a very good job doing that. And then like even Agnes like pulling her like back out like before we could actually see anything, like, and they were like talking about it instead of showing us. I thought that was really, really different. And that worked extremely well in this case.
100% agree with you there, man. And also just something I was just kind of thinking about as you were saying that and tossing it to you, Chris. This is another genius level of writing. If I'm not mistaken, we're now seeing the commercials come to life, right? Because we saw in episode 1 with the commercial of the ticking toaster. We now see that in fruition and how that kind of plays out. And we'll talk about the Strucker watch and how she was experimenting on. But genius writing, man. Is it a coincidence that we're now seeing these commercials come to life? And just your take on Wanda being revealed to have these powers.
Yeah, that's dope. I say every week, X-Men is my favorite little groove and all of Marvel.
Yeah.
So I'm all about it. I like that. I mean, like from a present day superhero story, it's like a more realistic way to keep the stories going. So I like that angle that they're going with. The writing is genius. And you're talking about the commercials, and I hope something comes to explain the Yo Magic commercial, because I still don't know what that. I need that explained clearly. Maybe in the little the assembled or whatever at the end they'll tell me what
behind the scenes. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, it's dope. I'm all for it.
What about you, Paul, in regards to that big moment of her having powers and being a witch from a very young age? But again, these commercials coming to fruition as well. Just your take on that, man.
Yeah, really well put together. And just kind of to go back to Soups's parallels comment, he's completely spot on. Like the Stark missile is very much even mirroring the one that S.W.O.R.D sent in with the Stark written on it, and the soldiers outside the house could be viewed as the S.W.O.R D soldiers outside the hex. And I got my mind's just being blown by that. I'm probably going to put that in a video and steal it, but I'll give you a really good point. And just the way the powers were kind of built up, because Wanda's powers are basically the probability, which is just luck. So there's probably a 1 in a million chance that a bomb won't detonate, and it'll misfire or something. And she's kind of manipulating that to be, the odds on that are much higher to the point that it doesn't go off. And just kind of working all that out and thinking, oh, she has got these powers. I don't know if it's going to be tied to her being a mutant or what. I'm kind of thinking that Agatha says she's had her eyes on her for quite a long time. So I'm guessing that something else has as well. And I think Agatha now is officially the oldest, well, the person who dates back the farthest with powers in the MCU. So, they might go far beyond that. Well, the Eternals, for example, that's going to be exploring the origins of the MCU. So you never know, they might lace things through that kind of lead to because the Scarlet Witch is obviously a prophecy that's been around for a long time. So I'm hoping that we kind of learn about where that prophecy came from, how it ties back to Wanda. I don't think it'll happen in this season, but I do think Wanda's going to get to the point where she starts to discover her powers and where they all kind of came from, and they can retroactively build that back. But it's just such a nice moment. And, there is even the possibility that you could go, well, maybe she didn't have powers. It was just sheer luck that it didn't go off. But
it makes you think, man. And again, even tying it to who we didn't see in this week's episode, as well as our supporting characters. But Monica, a lot could be said about Monica being able to not be killed by walking into the hex and going in and coming out 3 or 4 times, So again, I've said it a couple weeks ago. I don't like the idea that the mutants have been here this whole time and they're now, their powers are now coming up. Hopefully they'll hang out in Kevin Feige, I trust, but we'll see what comes to the mutant. And there's some super chats I'll get to here in a bit. And I thank you guys for showing the support, and we'll get to those in a second. But I want to toss it to Matthew first in regards to, is she a mutant? Is it a coincidence? Is there something that protected her? Again, we see that Agatha, that witches in this world, they can go back in time. They can go forward in time. Was there someone protecting her in this moment? Just your thoughts on that whole sequence, man.
I think she has powers. I think she just had powers, and I'm gonna listen to Agatha when she said that the Mind Stone just amplified those powers and really activated that X gene. Because there's been so many cataclysmic moments in the MCU these past couple years that would activate X genes. I mean, with all of the snaps you had, with now Wanda, it's expanding the hex. So I think she did have powers at this moment, and it all kind of ties back to the Infinity Stones and their impact and willingness to be able to activate the mutant gene within people. Right. We saw it with Wanda, and again, she stopped that bomb from going off. That's just my theory. They could go in a completely different direction, and they probably will. Who knows? But I think she did have powers.
Theories.
Oh yeah,
dude. At this point, I don't really like making theories for the show anymore because like it just they get wrecked every episode.
Yeah.
You're gonna get
I
one.
agree.
You're gonna get one.
I lost it. I might forget it now. There's no point.
Throwing it away. But
I wasn't saying that she didn't not have powers, by the way. I think she does. It's just
she does.
I'm saying you could look at it from that angle.
Oh, for sure.
And that's the beauty of the show, right? That's the mystery box, as you might say, in regards to if we get that reveal next week, that she's a mutant, and there's other people looking for her that wants to find another mutant to communicate with. But before we toss it to the second therapy session of sorts, I definitely want to give a quick shout out and thank you so much for the super chat, Michael. We had him on last week. He was so great. Definitely look forward to having him on in the future. But he says just showing some support. Starting to think the cameo is Baron Mordo, which we talked about a couple weeks ago. His whole thing of no more sorcerers. Agatha said Wanda casting spells on tops of spells is what we're sending it, and many no one else. Mean nobody else did. Yeah, I think there's something to be said in regards to Baron Mordo, who's the only villain that has been announced in Doctor Strange 2. Who might be someone that has doing some things behind the scenes, and we know he doesn't want any more magical beings being around. So. Chia to Algier 4. He's a great actor. Can't wait to see him back in the MCU. But again, Mike, thank you so much for the super chat, man. And hope you're having a great day. And then thank you so much for the support. And we also got another one here. I think your magic was foreshadowing draining. That's something that's a great point that Brooks brings up. And thank you so much for super chat in regards to that foreshadowing of taking the powers from someone. And that might be her big moment next week. We see Agatha wanting to take this, or not necessarily take her powers, but maybe she wants to work with Wanda. She wants to harness her powers, unlike her mother did at the beginning of this episode. Her mother didn't want to help her, so maybe Agatha, somewhat of a good person, like she is in the comics. She wants to tutor this young girl and her power abilities.
Yeah, she said she wants to be good.
Yeah, she did.
So that did kind of, and she's not done anything. Well, other than kidnapping kids.
Kidnapping the kids.
Not done anything,
besides that.
That's too bad at the moment.
Not too bad. Yeah.
But Wanda started off as a villain as well.
Very true. As well as, again, this is what I love about the show, Paul, to your point. It's all about perspective. Even Hayward, who we'll talk about here in a bit, Hayward can be looked at as a Tony Stark 2.0. He just wants to protect the world. 5 years ago, Thanos snapped away half of humanity. We need something to protect the world like Tony Stark did. But it's all about, again, from someone else's perspective, he's the bad guy. But to a S.W.O.R.D agent, he's a good guy. So that's the beauty of this show. It's all about where you stand. So switching it over to our second therapy session, as we see the Strucker experiments live in action, which this is one of my favorite moments of the show, when we see this kind of big reveal of a foreshadowing of sorts of Scarlet Witch. As we see Wanda's in this experiment, she comes across the Mind Stone. She has a moment with the Mind Stone. She sees herself in the actual Mind Stone, which again, I think Matthew brought up earlier in regards to cinematography. This episode was gorgeous to look at. I mean, the cinematography, especially in this scene, was incredible. And again, Elizabeth Olsen in this whole sequence was just incredible as well. So, Amanda, just your thoughts on that very, very awesome shot of a future Scarlet Witch on her way to the MCU officially.
Oh, it was so cool. I think that was the coolest part of the episode, seeing that, and then in her eyes as well. There was Marvel Perfect shots on Twitter, and then they showed like all of the eye shots that they had throughout the MCU. I thought that was just so cool. They keep doing it, and this was such a wicked one. I loved it so awesome. Much. But this flashback was so dark and creepy, and you could even tell that Elizabeth Olsen has been knocking it out of the park every single episode. Please just let her win some awards for this. But even the physicality change, especially in this flashback, when she was going like under those experiments. Her physicality, the way she moved, the way she looked, like it was completely different than the Wanda that we've seen in other flashbacks or even in the episodes right now. And I thought that was just amazing that she changed so much. But this moment right here that you showed, that was just incredible. It was so cool. And it gets you so excited to see what else is coming, what's happening. We don't know what's going to happen, but it's wicked. And I hope that it comes true and it happens very soon.
I couldn't agree with you more. Chris, man, your thoughts on, again, another, the Strucker experiment, another commercial coming to life and seeing her being the volunteer coming across the Infinity Stone in regards to the Mind Stone, amplifying her powers, man. What's your take on this whole sequence of Wanda seeing herself in the future?
Yeah, I thought it was dope. I think anytime that we can help fill in these timelines that we haven't seen in watching all these different movies, it's just such an interesting way to tie it back in. It's just like, it's like the family of these phases just keeps weaving into each other. So I was like, damn, like this another like behind the scenes look. I was like, this is like a great, like it's genius how they've even written all these movies that you can fill these things in. But yeah, I thought it was dope.
What about you, Paul, regarding this Scarlet Witch foreshadowing of seeing herself in the future, man?
Really good. I got goosebumps with it. It's a shame they didn't get the scientists back. I think that would have been a really good touch. But
yeah, I was hoping to see Strucker. I was hoping to see him make an appearance.
Because the guy did kind of look similar. He had the glasses and stuff.
I haven't looked it up. Have you guys looked it up on IMDb? Was he like Strucker, or was he recasted, or was just a random scientist that worked for Hydra?
Don't know.
I have to look it up.
But other than that, I mean, that's very minor. Yeah, the scene itself was excellent, and people have obviously gone back and turned the brightness up on that screenshot.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
brought out how the character looks, and have heard that is how she's gonna eventually end up looking in Doctor Strange 2. So it's kind of foreshadowing that, and really good moment. Just getting all these the backstory filled in, I think is really good on these characters.
Yeah. 100%, man. Matthew, man, your take on this moment and this beautiful cinematography of seeing the Scarlet Witch come into fruition.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was a masterpiece the way it was shot. Again, like Amanda said, that eye shot was just beautiful. But seeing Scarlet Witch almost come down like from the heavens, it was so badass. And I cannot wait to see her in her full costume. And I love how they took the idea of Scarlet Witch and made it like a prophecy. Like Wanda is fulfilling her destiny, her prophecy, whatever the case may be. I love how they took the identity of the Scarlet Witch. It's almost like very similar to like Jean Grey and like the Phoenix Force and becoming the Dark Phoenix. But I love how they turned the Scarlet Witch into like a prophecy that Wanda's fulfilling, because it's going to make it so much more satisfying when she really comes full circle and just becomes that character. And like Paul said, when she's wearing that costume and she's fully Scarlet Witch with probably the accent, I'm guessing she's going to have the accent.
It's coming back.
Yeah.
I love that Agatha made fun of her too. It's like, oh, it comes and it goes. Like we knew this. Like
Genius.
Yeah, here is that shot that you guys were referring to. Let me see if I can zoom in here and make
the headpiece.
Yeah.
It looks so sick. And I'm going to be straight with you. I love that she's actually like covered because of her other costumes.
Yeah.
Like I'm happy that it looks so good. It looks like Magneto's too, which I'm absolutely obsessed with. Right. So yeah, it looks good. Sorry. I just wanted to add that.
No, it's beautiful. And I think, like you said, Paul, I think we're gonna, if not at the end of this show, then definitely come a Spider-Man if she's a part of that, which I think she's gonna be in that movie, but definitely in Doctor Strange 2, she's gonna be fully decked out in this comic book accurate design, which again, Marvel and the costumes, man, the costume design, they always knock it out of the park, and I can't wait to see that in the flesh. But going on to, I think Chris alluded to it, and I think we can all agree here, this was an incredible moment, an incredible flashback that we get. The acting in the scene of seeing Wanda and seeing Paul Bettany, who goes back to the, he's only a couple days old, right? At this point in the MCU, we see at the Avengers compound, we have Wanda, we have Vision. He comes in, as we know, he goes through the walls. Amanda, just kicking it to you, man. I mean, this scene to me was one of the best scenes of the show, one of my favorite MCU moments of the show. Just that conversation. I know, Soups, when we get to you, man, I think you tweeted it or put on your TikTok, the grieving process and finding love within grieving, and just so beautiful. Kicking it to you, Amanda, your thoughts on this scene of Wanda and Vision slowly falling in love.
Yeah, I love this scene, like them together. Actually, for once, I didn't really care for them in Age of Ultron or
Yes, I'm
that
right there with
entire.
you.
I did not care for either of them throughout the entire like MCU stretch. I didn't care for them. I thought they were very awkward. I guess it was the writing in those films that maybe it just didn't translate well with their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But this scene fixed everything, kind of. For me anyway. So no, it was beautiful that she confided in him and that he could also kind of understand the human side of it. Right. So I think that they helped each other. And I think that's why they fell in love with each other. It's not only about the grieving, it's the fact that they're trying to help each other understand their place in the world. And by doing that, they're bonding with each other. And this scene, and then the quote, the line that he says, I can't even quote it right now, but about finding, what was it? The process of grief. Is that whole thing with love.
Yep.
I started crying when he said that because I'm like, wow, that's probably the most beautiful line in the MCU.
Definitely.
I thought it was fantastic. And like from all people, it comes from Vision. You know what I mean? Like it comes
He's a
from
robot. A robot is more human than the humans. Yeah. Yep.
So for him to understand Wanda, I just think that this scene alone made everyone love them even more. And that's why it's so heartbreaking. And I thought they did a great job with that line alone.
Yeah. Vision's had like some of the best lines in the MCU. Age of Ultron, he had that one about some things not beautiful because
it lasts.
Yeah, exactly. And then he had the I was born yesterday one.
Yeah.
I like that one
was
too.
good, yeah. And they just keep giving him these good lines. And that one really stuck out. That is such a quote. That is something that people are gonna use in like years' time when trying to
it's gonna be in the Valentine's Day cards come next year.
People are getting that tatted on them as we speak.
They are, man. Chris, man, tossing to you in this vulnerable moment. I'm totally in the same boat as Amanda. I never bought their love. I'm sorry. And it's not necessarily not buying it. I just didn't feel like we spent time with these characters. We see them meet at Age of Ultron for 2 seconds. We see the scene in Civil War with them sharing moments, and obviously in Infinity War. But I never felt the love. To me, it's Cap and Peggy are the best couple. That's over Iron Man and Pepper Potts for me. They're the number one couple. But this show is now making Wanda and Vision, the best couple, best love story, tragic love story of the MCU. But your take on this scene, man, and just the acting.
Yeah, this is my favorite scene probably of the whole show season. The wordplay was crazy. And was this the same scene when they were watching Malcolm in the Middle? When she was watching it?
Yep.
And I laughed out loud when the shit collapsed on my man. I love that show. I tell you, I love that show so much. I'm like the only one, but whatever. But yeah, this scene was great. And besides even just because I wrote down to reference, the quote about the grief, but he even explains like, I've never even had anyone to lose. Like I was like, this is some deep shit. And like, I think our first episode streaming, episode 1, I told you guys like how much of a Vision fan I am. Like not a lot of people like Vision, and it's because of that line in Age of Ultron that Paul just referenced. And I literally, this is a true story, literally quoted that quote in my sister's wedding speech about that things are not beautiful because they last. And it's like, and he's trying to explain to Ultron, like he's like, because he tells it, like humans are doomed. He's like, well, yeah, they are, but things are not beautiful because they last. It's fucking genius. So this scene was like another level of that, because I'm like, yo, like I gave Ultron like a shot because of that scene alone. Like I always respect that movie just for like that one scene. But this was a nice little level up on it, and I was like, man, this is heavy.
It's heavy, man, and it speaks to, again, Age of Ultron, man. It's my least favorite Avengers movie, but it's making, and I like Age of Ultron, don't get me wrong, but this show is making me even love Age of, and I can't wait to revisit it after the show. But it makes, again, this is the beauty of Marvel, is making you, even in Endgame, Thor: The Dark World, my least favorite Marvel film, but I was like, oh, we're back in Thor: The Dark World, and they even make that a little bit better. But tossing back to you, Paul, regarding your thoughts on this sequence and just the wordplay and the moment of them kind of slowly falling in love, man.
Yeah, it is, again, back to the whole bubble idea. This scene is just them stuck in this room, in this bubble, kind of analyzing life, and you really do get what draws them together. And I agree, I never even the lines like "I just feel you" when that was said in Infinity War, it fell flat for me in that film.
Yes.
But this time it was like, you know what I mean? And they just did it so well. They've kind of, I think they knew that they'd not developed their love story as well as they should have.
Yeah,
and they've kind of gone back and filled in the blanks here to make it perfect. And the scene's so simple. It's just them sitting on the bed talking.
Yeah.
But it does so much in terms of character development and getting you attached to their relationship and understanding why, you know, this woman who's lost everything, she gravitates towards someone who can just put it in terms simply and understand her. Because at this point, she's just been abandoned by everyone.
Yeah.
She's the bomb's just gone off at the start of Civil War, and she's very much to blame. And she doesn't have a brother. She doesn't have her family. And everyone's kind of left her to be on her own whilst they go off and fight each other. And to just have someone connect to her and see things on her level, it just works really, really well. And you totally get their relationship from this point onwards.
100%, man. And I call me greedy if you will, but I would love to see the 2 years between Civil War and Infinity War, just because of these great moments with Paul Bettany and Elizabeth. I would still love to kind of see that development of the character, but you just kind of get an idea of what happened in that scene of how they can fall in love. Because like you guys said, you know, you have this android that's able to, who's never experienced love, is able to talk to this person who has had loss after loss after loss. And now she's found someone to connect to. But yet again, Matthew, you pointed out on your social media accounts that particular line. Just if you want to talk about it here, man, just how that line, what it meant to you, and just that moment, that scene, just your thoughts, man.
Yeah, so I thought the scene was perfect from beginning to end. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. Give them their Emmys. Give them their Emmys.
Yeah, man.
It was so perfect. It was so perfectly written, and I honestly I think this is by far like one of my favorite scenes in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man.
Easily. It's just a simple scene between two characters sitting on a bed and having a conversation, but the conversation is so extremely powerful. And you know, as they're talking about grief, it works so well. You have an android who was born yesterday, and you have Wanda, who's been through so much, and she's sinking, as she says, because there's it feels like waves are drowning her.
Yeah.
And then Vision to hit her with that line, but what is grief if not love and perseverance? And it stuck with me. That scene was in my head from beginning to end for the rest of the episode.
Yep.
But I also think that it's so clever of them to continue to use Vision as kind of like a coping mechanism for Wanda. Vision is like a comfort character for Wanda, and they've taken a humanoid robot and have made him one of the most human characters in the entire MCU.
Yep.
So for him to deliver this line and just this scene in general, I felt the scene was bigger than the whole entire show. Honestly, I feel like this was Marvel's take at speaking to those people out there suffering in grief, suffering with loss and depression. And if you're dealing with that stuff and you hear this line from Vision, I know that Marvel saved lives with this scene.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, man. That's going back to just my connection to this show and these characters and just the human element, right? Again, these are superheroes. These are fictional characters, but this is stuff that we all deal with. These are lines that, you know, losing someone close to me, you know, I would have loved to have heard that line during that time, right? And that being in that spot and just hearing Vision saying it, like you said, man, it's just something to be said about the writing and the incredible acting that we see within that scene. So I totally agree with you all. This scene right here is something that, you know, when we look back at the MCU, it's one of the most emotional moments and most gratifying moments and great character development. So easily one of the best moments of the show, which brings us into the last kind of flashback of sorts where we see Wanda breaking into S.W.O.R.D. She didn't take the body, ladies and gentlemen. She didn't do it. She didn't do the villainous thing that Hayward made her out to be of sorts. As we see that Wanda's now, she knows where the body is. Again, speaking to the actor Elizabeth Olsen, when she's telling the guy at the desk, she's a superpower. She's a superhero, right? She can literally just go in there and doesn't have to take any names and just go and take the body. But she's like, I just want to see him. as we know, director Hayward pulls her in, and it's very interesting how the parallels of how Monica was, how he said he's the acting director, but he's still, Wanda, oh, I'm the director of S.W.O.R.D, and he wants to show her something. And it's in this moment, as we see on the screen now, they've had visions for 5 years now, and as Hayward says in the post-credit scene that we'll talk about, they've been pulling the body apart, ripping it apart, and now they have them up and activated. But just starting with you, Amanda, seeing Wanda in this moment of seeing Vision's body, and when we talked about that line earlier, I literally was watching Infinity War the other night, which just happens to be my favorite MCU film. The line when she says, "I can only feel you," and as she sees Vision on that table, I can't feel you, as she tears up. I mean, just this whole sequence as we lead up into her getting into the car and making her way to Westview. But just your thoughts on this this breaking into S.W.O.R.D and not taking the body.
Just having that last flashback and this one back to back, like, I'm really happy that they structured it that way, because it was much more emotional having that connection. Hayward, like we said, he manipulated the footage. So he is a bad guy, period, done. Like, he's just like a horrible human being for doing that, for basically doing that to Wanda. But this scene was emotional, and her processing everything that she can't really take, like, she can't bring Vision back. And there was also powerful scenes. There's dialogue exchanged that he wouldn't be able to come back to life unless she could do that. So in a way, like,
question there for you, man. How did he know that? Like, why? That's an interesting word that he phrased that. That was very interesting the way he phrased that about bringing Vision back. How would he have known that?
Yeah, like, why would he know? I have no idea how to answer that. Hopefully we find out next week. I have no idea.
For sure.
But in that case, it's like, it was just weird, because even Wanda looked at him and said, "I can't do that. I can't do." So all of that, what was it? Because we still kind of, like, we don't really, like, know what if that prompted her. Maybe he prompted her. Like, that little tidbit of a comment was like, okay, I'm going to plant that seed. And then that's kind of what happened. Yeah. Right. But again, emotional moment. I can't feel you. I can't feel you. Like, that was oh my God, God bless Elizabeth Olsen for that delivery. But yeah, it was really good scene, and Hayward just pisses me off. So we'll see what happens.
Chris, man, your take on "I can't feel you," seeing Vision's body on the table, the hole left in his head from Thanos, and just that whole sequence, man. As Hayward says, we can't let you just take this $3 billion of vibranium and just throw it in the dirt.
Yeah, they had my dog Vision looking crazy in there, man. I was like, this is not right. Like, you even put a sheet over my man's head. Right. I know it was a robot, but sheesh. I thought it was crazy. It made me think of the deleted, or not deleted, but like the unreleased end scene from Endgame that we talked about a couple weeks.
The body bag thing, yeah.
Yeah,
and that's why they deleted it, obviously.
Exactly.
Bring it in the show.
I was like, that's why. That's like that. It wouldn't have added up with this. So it made me go back to that. But yeah, I like the scene. I like her breaking the glass. That was like some badass shit. And then they got her their guns up. Like, what are you guys gonna do with those things?
Right.
Heavy scene, real heavy scene. Like, it's like, and that's like a testament to Marvel. Like, we care about a robot, like how he looks ripped up like that. Like, it's a real person. So that's how I feel about it.
And tossing it to you, just going off of what Chris was saying there, Paul. Very interesting. Again, going back to Hayward, the words that he used in regards to referring to Vision as as a robot, as a robot, as an android, and not really referring to as what Wanda sees as her loved one, a weapon, exactly. So Chris almost alludes to it. It's almost like he was antagonizing her. It's almost like he wanted her to do something. Again, he wants her to be the villain. He said it in the show. So Hayward, man, this is kind of your thoughts on that scene, and kind of I know there's some theories out there that he might be the human version of Ultron. He might be a Skrull or whatever. He might be Mephisto in a human form.
I'll write that down, actually.
He's poking the bear, man. He's poking the bear in that scene, Paul.
Yeah, so I actually guessed in episode 5 that she wouldn't have taken the body.
Yeah.
And if you look on the security footage, you can actually see a leg behind her just standing there watching her do it. And I did kind of think that might be Hayward. But the dialogue of not everyone can bring him back online, I think he's definitely challenging her to, like, he's basically saying, well, you could bring him online if you wanted to. And that was kind of his plan. That's probably why he buzzed her through, to be honest.
Spark that, yeah. Get his toy up and running.
Yeah, I know Hayward is a bad guy, but I can totally see things from his perspective. And again, he just wants to put a suit of armor around the world.
Yeah.
He knows that Vision's been a good thing for mankind in the past.
Yeah.
And he's not thinking of it as this is your boyfriend. He's thinking of it as the world needs this, and you need to put your feelings to the side for a second and just realize that half of all life in the universe got wiped out 5 years ago. He had to live through that. And there was a little line in one of the episodes when he says to Monica, "You don't know how bad it got."
Right.
And he's very much this authority figure that everyone's looking to say, you need to stop this from happening. Like, this is what's happening with COVID at the moment.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of looking to these authority figures and saying, you need to make sure this thing doesn't happen again. And there's a lot of pressure on people to do things in a certain way and get things right. And often they don't make the right decisions, and they actually lead to things going a lot worse. And I think Hayward is very much that as well. He doesn't know exactly how to handle everything, and he's just turned to this idea of, well, here's a protector, he's a machine. Wanda had been snapped away during the snap, so he didn't even have to consider her feelings, and he clearly just thought this is a weapon. So I can see things from his perspective, but you know, it's kind of the heart and the head clashing very much in this show. You've got Wanda, whose heart's very much invested in Vision, and you've got Hayward, whose head is just, we need this protection.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, man. Just again about the perspective in regards to where Hayward's coming from. But Matthew, man, your thoughts on again the line delivery of "I can't feel you," Hayward's wordplay, antagonizing Wanda, and just that whole sequence of our last flashback of this episode.
So, Paul, you actually changed my perspective a little bit on Hayward and the way we view Hayward and have viewed him in the show.
He's not Mephisto.
But look, I still want Jimmy Woo to hit him with the right hook.
Right.
Yep.
I think he deserves one on the jaw.
Yeah.
But no, I love this scene, and like Amanda said, it was so clever to put this right after that super emotional scene between Wanda and Vision during the Civil War time period, because that was like the first time Wanda and Vision kind of opened up to each other, and now here we're seeing them kind of like separate in a way. You know, I can't feel you. That line delivery was perfect, and just this scene was heartbreaking. Honestly, it was just like Wanda showing up to something that wasn't there. Like she was going to S.W.O.R.D almost to like, in a way, like in her head, like it wasn't gonna happen, but she was almost going to like get a part of Vision back for herself. And she never got that in this scene, and she just saw a corpse and a body, and I'm surprised she didn't take the body. Honestly, that was one of the twists.
A lot of restraint,
but it just emphasizes that Hayward has some malicious intent behind all of this, and they're building him up to be more of a villain in this final episode, especially now that he has a version of Vision that he's created over the time period of the snap. So it's going to be interesting to see where the show goes next. But I thought this was an awesome scene, seeing Wanda look at Vision's body and really realize and kind of feel just the pain that he ain't coming back. Marvel does a ton of fake deaths, but Vision he's not there anymore.
Or at least that version of Vision that we once knew before. And it speaks to again, a lot of people were complaining about they don't understand where her connection to Wanda is. This moment right here. You know, we know Monica came back and her mom was gone, and same with Wanda, her lover is gone. So they have that connection, and we get to see that moment with Wanda seeing Vision. You know, not to get Mormon and dark, but can you imagine, you know, losing a loved one and you've been gone for 5 years and you see their body on the table like that, just kind of split apart. It messes with her head as we kind of lead to wrapping up this episode, ladies and gentlemen. We see the Real Westview, which is dark and gloomy, which to me makes a lot of sense because again, we just came back from the blimp. You know, I do notice that where are the kids? There were no kids running around Westview. We know that there's missing kids going around in this town. You know, I jokingly said that Pennywise has made his way into the Hex or into Westview. But nonetheless, we see her driving around. We see Herb. We see, Mrs. Hart. We see all these characters. We see the delivery man who we've been theorizing for weeks about, but he's just a delivery guy, just delivering some pizzas. But it's this moment here. We talk about emotions, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, man, I don't know how you guys handled this moment, but we get the moment from Vision giving her a love letter in regards to this was their future, ladies and gentlemen, to grow old in from V. He bought her a house. And that house is not going to be lived in with Wanda and Vision. We get the moment. We see the creation of the Hex. We see the creation of Vision, of her version of Vision. Starting off with you, Amanda, just going into Westview, seeing that love letter, seeing how she created the Hex, how she was able to make her version of Vision. Just your thoughts on this moment.
Well, like from the very beginning of the series, we know that Wanda's at her most powerful when her emotions are unleashed. We see that in every single episode that her emotions affect everything around her. And to see this powerful moment in the way that she creates everything, an entire house, the Hex, like just everything, Vision himself, that takes so much of her pain and her trauma and puts it out into what she, the reality that she wants. And I thought that was a wicked moment. But also someone brought it up on, look at this, that's her power. And again, we're exploring who she is. And I thought it was fantastic. And I had noticed that, Mrs. Hart was by herself.
Yeah, no
right?
Mr. Hart there. Yeah,
no Mr. Hart. So I'd read some theories that because Wanda felt lonely and empty, she gave Mrs. Hart a partner in that case.
Oh wow!
I had read some theories. I was like, oh, that's so cool that someone would have said that. So she does obviously have a heart. She's just doing this out of an emotional from an emotional place because she needs a place to control her trauma in a way, and she's not controlling her trauma properly, but at the same time, it's the space that she created to kind of maybe reflect and put some positivity in her life in in a different way.
I like that theory too in regards to bringing, because I think even Pietro said the complexity, and even Agatha said the complexity of you have people that are they're with their loved ones, and all the integral things that she did in the Hex. So that's really interesting. But Chris, man, your thoughts on this? Growing old together, buying this land for an empty house with no family until she creates family. Very goddish, in regards to creating a home and a family and recreating Vision and reanimating him. And just your thoughts on the Real Westview.
Yeah, it's heavy. I mean, Westview looks like a real shithole. I don't know why he chose that place to settle down, but he did.
Well, to be fair, 5 years ago, maybe it was the best suburb in New Jersey before the snap happened. But yeah.
No, New Jersey doesn't have any nice city. I'm just joking. No. I think Vision put a lot of pressure on dudes to step up their courting game. If you're not buying houses, I don't know how you're competing anymore. If this dude's a robot, what am I doing? But yeah, that scene was great, and it's a great ending to the episode of just setting us up perfectly for that finale. Man, it's just it's exactly what we needed. And if you think back to episode 1, and you turn this show on, you're just like, what the hell is this? To now seeing this moment that we got to and the journey that we went on, I was like, man, this is a dope little culmination of everything, explaining everything, and then you're just kind of picking out the characters, oh shit, that's that guy, that's that guy, that's that guy, and just seeing how it's done, and then the graphics I think were done well too. It looked really well done. We talked about the budget, already in other episodes, and it's every penny well spent. Yep. So I thought it was a dope ending scene.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. Paul, man, your take on the Real Westview and seeing the house being bought for Wanda, but more importantly, the powers of Wanda, as we'll talk about in the next scene. She can simultaneously do creation and chaos magic, but just your take on her recreating Vision, and we'll talk about Billy and Tommy in a little bit, but just your take on this sequence here, man.
Yeah, it's so simple. And it's really impactful as well, because we know all these characters already, but we don't know what they were like before the Hex. And you're just kind of getting this slow reveal as she drives into town. Even her just driving past the sign was almost like a sort of not a jaw-dropping moment, but you got goosebumps seeing that sign come in, and to not have her disappear as she drives into the hex, and to just have her keep going, and then go through the streets, and you see the stand in the middle of the town, the big, which itself is a hexagon, that being all boarded up, and just the people kind of going about their lives. And you, in some ways, you could think, has Wanda given these people a purpose almost, because they just seem to be, you know, a bit bored. Not bored, but they don't seem that happy. They're just kind of like Herb. Yeah, Herb crossing the street was, he just seemed so depressed. And then oh, I forgot the guy's name. The guy with the mustache looks like David.
The one from the work,
Ross, basically just Ross in every episode.
Is it Nick or Nate? Is it with an N?
Something. Well, I look at him as Dottie's husband. Where the hell is Dottie? But
Phil Jones, something like that. Phil Jones.
He was just putting up piano flyers. And just it's a very simple thing, and you know what's coming for these people as well. And it's just a very cold build-up, and then to see her get to the house, which I'm guessing was built, or they started laying the foundations, and then the snap happened. Just such a good scene, really, really good scene. And then she kind of goes from there, and just when Vision comes back in, the first thing he does is smiles, and you know that's exactly what you want from the person that you haven't seen for just to see them smile again. Really, really good moment. I don't think they explained fully how she brought him back. And I don't know if they'll go into that.
Besides, you know, Agatha saying that, you know, Scarlet Witch has the powers of creation, it's still just kind of the explanation of it all. Hopefully we do explore that next week, or, you know, maybe when Doctor Strange teaches her, or Agatha teaches her how to use her magic. But Matthew, man, your take on this this kind of sad moment of seeing Wanda break down, you know, very reminiscent to, again, Age of Ultron, when she sees Pietro dies and she hits the ground crying, kind of very parallels to that. But what did you think about that?
So I thought it was a great scene. I wasn't really like that amazed by it, just because I had predicted it like literally to the T. Because one, we had that shot from episode 3. We're 1 for 19, I think. So yeah, but I do think that letter of Vision and her going to see like the house they would have had, that was such a nice, just emotional beat to add more to the scene, because we all knew this scene was coming. Like the scene of just her breaking down in a town and creating the hex. But having that little emotional beat added in there of her and Vision, and how Vision wrote with like the heart. And then in the first episode, we see on the calendar, there's like a little heart that's like kind of similar to it. But I just love the emotional beat. And then to have Vision, just the first words he says is like, "Welcome home, Wanda," as if he is her home. And that's exactly what she created in this scene. This scene wasn't about building a house. This scene was about bringing back her home, which was Vision.
Great point, man. Great point. And there's a comment here in regards to, I guess, just the details of how Vision bought that house, because last time we saw him was on a run. Maybe it was before, you know, maybe it was before the Sokovia Accords and all that stuff.
Bank accounts.
Can you imagine being an Avengers, man? That paycheck has to be lovely. But in regards to just wrapping up this recap and review, and again, to my wonderful co-host and my guests, thank you all for spending this Saturday with us, and everyone that's in the live stream. Thank you for the great comments, the super chats that we got earlier. Make sure, if you haven't already, thumbs up the video, share the video, continue the conversation in the comments. And if you're watching this on the replay, do the same. We'd really appreciate it. But as we wrap up the episode, we see Agatha in her true form as regards to her and her full-on outfit as a witch. She now has Billy and Tommy in her possession. She now has cracked the code in regards to all the stuff that she's learned from Wanda at this point. She tells her, you know, you are a myth. You're someone that doesn't supposed to be real, as she reveals that your creation, your powers, your beings, as she utters the words of, we don't really get a lot of superheroes with their code names. You know, they throw it in every now and then, but she flats out says, you are the Scarlet Witch and you are using chaos magic. So Amanda, just your take on this finale before we get to the post-credit scene and this reveal of Scarlet Witch being named, who she is. And as Kevin Feige said in the preparation of the show, we will see the transition from Wanda into the Scarlet Witch.
This is where I felt underwhelmed, and I feel like I guess because like we know who she is already, so having that kind of name drop, I'm like, yeah, we knew, like we understood that. I understand the power in it, don't get me wrong, and why everyone enjoyed it, but for me, I'm just like, it was leading up to this. I thought that this episode would end on a different note.
Okay.
And just because like it was so short, and when that "please stand by" came up, I swear to God, I yelled at my screen. I'm like, "Are you kidding? This is how you're ending it!" Like, oh my gosh, I was so pissed off. Yeah. And I think because like the way you ended it, like the line delivery from Catherine Hahn, like God tier. Don't get me wrong, like she's fantastic, and like the eyebrows, like she looked incredible. Costume design was fantastic. It's just the fact that like that didn't do anything for me, and then it ended, and I'm like, I wish there was more of that episode and that they didn't cut it there. Like it felt like really weird to end it on that for me. So that's where it kind of just underwhelmed me. I'm so sorry. Please do not hate me.
I'm kind of with you in that moment. Again, we kind of saw it coming. And it was very kind of like, dun, 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 you are the Scarlet Witch. You know, it's just like, we kind of knew that. But, you know, they're hopefully we'll pick up right on it from next week. But Chris, man, your take on Agatha dropping the name of Scarlet Witch. We see Billy and Tommy, which, again, we know that they have powers. I'm not sure why they're not able to use their powers against Agatha, but she's, you know, a very ancient witch. But just your take on this wrapping up the episode before we get to this post-credit scene here.
Yeah, a couple quick thoughts on this scene. I agree with Amanda. Like it wasn't like the craziest epic drop of the name, but we were kind of waiting on it, so I'm cool with that. Yeah. I think the cool things about this scene was how dope she looked, Agatha. Like, you know, coming from like again going back to that first time we see her in black and white to this, it's like that's range, like that's costume design, that's makeup, that's hair. It's like it's a lot of stuff that's going into it. Yeah. And I forgot which stream it was that we were talking. I think it's my man from Jersey, and he said he didn't like the kids. And this is kind of where I felt him too, because the kids, you're getting like almost hung, and it's just like a weird. It was just like weird. It looked weird. Like I didn't believe it. I was like, are you guys in distress, or are you guys just bad?
Walk
exactly. Like it's like you just like, hey, like someone's hitting me. It's like, can you just get out of that
speed?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Someone needs to teach these kids how to use their fucking powers. But besides that, you know, I was cool with it. It's not enough for me to take the episode down a notch. But that's my overall thoughts on it.
Wow. At me next time.
Oh man. How did you feel about this? I guess again, the execution of the scene and revealing the Scarlet Witch and seeing Billy and Tommy in distress.
Who?
Oh, Paul. I'm sorry. Yeah, Paul.
I thought it was a bit goofy. Her floating in the air. Almost. Yeah, it looked a bit weird. But it was nice because we got this outfit teased in the Agatha all along. But there was like a split second where she kind of flew down, and then it changed into the one that she was wearing in episode 1. Yeah. So it was nice seeing that, but I don't know. I thought it was a bit the makeup. It was a very sort of Bride of Frankenstein-y.
Yeah,
it was a bit weird. I was kind of hoping for the old Agatha look, but we didn't get it. But you know what is she doing as well? We still kind of don't know.
That's a good question.
I've kind of gone back and forth on it, and rewatching it, I think that she sucked the life force out of all those witches at the start, and that's how she's able to live so long. But originally, I just thought she was just killing them. So yeah, I'm guessing that she wants basically these kids to kind of feast off of to live forever, potentially, or maybe not.
Or maybe not, man. Matthew, man, I guess just kind of to that question of Paul there, what is Agatha's plans, man? Is it a matter of taking powers? Is it a matter of working with someone to take out other witches? We mentioned Chiwetel Ejiofor's character. Just your take on that final moment. Yeah. Did you feel like it was a little bit underwhelming as well?
Yeah, this was the scene that I found to be very underwhelming. just because I feel like they should have given us more. Like, you can't end the episode on this spot, because we like, realistically speaking, cut out all the flashbacks and we're still in like pretty much the same spot we were at the end of the last episode.
Exactly.
So I didn't think they should have ended it here, but nonetheless, I thought what we saw in this scene from Agatha mainly was her coming to the realization that Wanda is the Scarlet Witch. She is screwed. So the only way to really hurt Wanda is to hurt the kids. And that's why she kind of, I mean, in this episode, at the beginning of it, she used the kids as leverage to get Wanda to go down all of these different flashbacks, down this like museum of grief. So she's used the kids before as like a vulnerability to Wanda. And we can talk all day about how the kids were kind of like, just the idea of having kids was planted in Wanda's mind from the beginning. So we still don't really know what Agatha's main plan is in all of this. But at this point, now that she knows that Wanda's the Scarlet Witch, she knows she's screwed. So I think that this was her kind of just like fully taking off the mask, seeing her in full costume, and using Wanda's biggest vulnerability against Wanda. So in this next episode, we're gonna see what Agatha's real plan is, what she wants from Wanda in order for Wanda to have her kids back. But judging off of like the costume design, I've seen a couple people say that like this is very like Disney Channel original movie, and I could totally see that.
Focus going on.
Yeah, I could totally see that now, but I don't have an issue with it. Like, to be honest,
It's Halloween Town.
Halloween
Yeah,
Town.
Halloween Town.
Hocus Pocus or something to that.
Hey,
sort.
those movies are
that's
great.
just-
They're
Okay,
great. They're great.
They're
They are-
great.
Maybe Agatha got her witch outfit from the 80s. You know, she was in a different time. But
present day descendants.
there you go.
I don't remember.
Very true, very true. But as we kind of wrap up, just getting you guys' thoughts on this this post-credit scene, and then just overall thoughts and predictions into next week, and we'll wrap this thing up in regards to the WandaVision portion of this stream. But Amanda, your thoughts on the post-credit scene in regards to leading up to this moment. We see Hayward, he's doing this villain thing of sorts. The launch, I'm thinking that the launch is like literally a missile, but no, the launch it's Vision. That's what he's going to bring into Westview. He's going to tear it down from the inside out. We'll see how that works out for him. But we get the moment of White Vision, which is from the comics, who at a certain point essentially is a more of a machine than he is somewhat human. So your take on this post-credit scene, was it better than last week's, and just what you expect to see from this version of Vision, which, by the way, I don't know if you all, that spot in the middle of his head kind of reminds me, again, Tony Stark's presence of that arc reactor kind of reminded me of that design. But just your take on this post-credit scene and Vision versus Vision coming next week.
I'm, again, very underwhelmed because it's just the fact that, like, everything that we thought of, like, the big baddie's going to be Mephisto, is gonna, like, every single theory that we have thought of for this big ending, and then it's going to be Vision versus Vision. I was just kind of like, oh, okay. On a television level, that makes more sense. You know what I mean? For another person to fight in this case, if it was coming from Hayward. So it makes more sense to fit the series, but I was just kind of like, it was okay. We'll see what happens next week. It could be totally different. I have no idea, but I'm just,
What about you, Chris, in regards to this post-credit scene? And again, Paul Bettany's the ultimate troller regarding this actor he's been wanting to work with his entire life as himself. But your take on White Vision and what we can maybe expect from this nuclear bomb of sorts, and maybe James Spader might.
Yeah, I hope he's not trolling us. I hope he's not.
I'll never forgive him if he is.
Yeah,
he's trolling us.
Yeah.
Oh, why?
We kind of touched on it last week about like our expectations, like Magneto, and then it's like if it's really
Al Pacino was out there, all those people to be named,
Denzel Washington. No, I'm joking. No,
we never
it's crazy. Yeah, and I never knew about White Vision. I just doing some research after the end scene. But yeah, this end scene was way better than the last one. I mean, not like the last one was whack, but it's like it's cool that they're even throwing an end scene. So I'm excited to see where they go with it. I'm guessing it's like a setup for Vision to be fighting Vision, or instead of we're thinking that Wanda is going to be the big villain in the upcoming movies, but it might just be this White Vision. I'm excited to see how that goes. I saw some theories about Monica teaming up, to defeat this White Vision and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm not making any predictions. I'm like Matt. I'm not doing it. We're out. I'm out.
Paul, man, your take on this version of White Vision again. I know you touched on your breakdown and in regards to what we can maybe expect from this character. But again, we know Marvel does their remixes on things. But what do you think we're going to get from White Vision next week?
Well, I think the fact that Marvel have announced Scarlet Witch is in Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man No Way Home, and they haven't announced that Vision is very telling. And I think that a Vision is going to have to take out Vision, basically, and they'll both die. I think they'll both die, and it'll be double heartbreaking for Wanda because she's lost not only the man she loves, she's lost the guy she brought back to life and fell in love with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's going to be a very tragic ending. I think the show is heading towards a big death, and just TV shows in general. They kind of need to almost finish on the status quo sometimes if they're tying into a movie.
Right.
And I think it's going to be very difficult for people to leave. Like if you finish watching Endgame and see that Scarlet Witch is very depressed, and then go into Doctor Strange 2 from that without having Disney Plus,
right?
It needs to make sense. And I think the only way to do that is to basically kill all the characters that have been created.
Interesting, very interesting. You're taking, and this is a good question too. I don't know if you guys thought about this in regards to how was Hayward able to track Vision inside the Hex? Again, knowing that I guess Wanda created vibranium. Again, she has ultimate OP powers. But Matt, man, your take on, I guess, that question, but then also too, just your take on White Vision and what we can expect from this character next week and moving forward. Is this how Vision maybe can come back in the MCU? Shuri can maybe take the whatever Wanda was able to create in the Hex and put it in this Vision potentially, or he's just a goner?
As much as we would love to see that, he's done. He's done. I'm sorry. It's not something that we want to see, but Tiana Paris, all of the people that are part of this show have talked about how the show ends very depressing. It's going to be a sad ending, and it's going to really set off Wanda and unleash her into becoming the Scarlet Witch. Right. So this post-credit scene again was underwhelming for me personally, because going into this episode, I had like all of just like my theories the same way everyone else had their theories of like, okay, they're going to set up the final episode by, I don't know, maybe we get the aerospace engineer reveal, maybe some Doctor Strange, who knows? But coming off of the ending of the episode, which I already found kind of underwhelming, and then to go into the transition into this post-credit scene where they completely introduced a new character into the show that we're going to see in the next episode. Right. It completely changes the game, because now going into this next episode, I don't think you could have all of the cameos we thought they were going to have. I don't think you can have all of those cameos now in this next episode. It's only 15 minutes long. They have a ton of questions to answer. They have a ton of things to address. There's going to be action filling in the majority of the episode. Yeah. So it's going to be, again, going into this next episode, I'm kind of worried, but like Chris, again, expectations killed. I'm done. You're right. That's it. I'm done.
Well, wrapping it up with this episode here again, I thank you all for tuning in, and starting with you, Amanda, just your predictions for next week. As Matthew said, there's a lot to cover next week. If I'm to be a betting man, I think we're going to take out Agatha pretty quickly. Hopefully not killing her, but just taking her out and whatever that means without killing her. And it's going to be a lot to kind of do that in the first 5 minutes. And then we get, whatever the consequences of Vision coming in. And we still got Monica, Pietro, X-Men maybe. It's a lot to do in 50 minutes, but just your overall thoughts of this episode, and then going into what you would like to see in the conclusion of WandaVision.
Yeah, well, this episode, as I said, there were strong moments, but the ending left me underwhelmed. I didn't hate the episode, Chris, but I'm just saying no. I felt underwhelmed. I don't know what's going to happen next week. I have no clue. The Vision versus Vision makes sense. Yeah. I have a very strong feeling that we are going to end on a cliffhanger.
Yep.
Very strong feeling.
Yep. Prepare yourself, ladies and gentlemen.
if this cliffhanger is very big, it could be a cameo. We have no idea what's going to happen, but it has to tie it. If it ties into Spider-Man and we're getting that at the end of the year, beautiful. But if it ties into Doctor Strange too, like
that's March. That's a whole year.
Like it would just be horrible. So it's going to be a cliffhanger and we're all going to lose our minds. That's it. That's where I'm at.
Chris, man, your overall take on this episode, and then just jumping into the prediction road, man, what you hope to see next week in the finale.
Yeah, overall thoughts on this episode, I was very, very, very happy with it. I don't know if it's my favorite. I have to go and analyze that. It might be my favorite episode. I think it gave me kind of like Endgame vibes, which a lot of the joy of Endgame was going back to those moments, in time and the things that we've seen. So it's like getting some answers and like a different lens of things that we're familiar with. So really, really like that about the episode. As far as the ending, I 1,000% agree with Amanda. That's being recorded right now about the cliffhanger. But I trust Marvel to not make it where we're angry about it. I think it's going to be I think we're going to get a lot of answers, but a cliffhanger that like a cherry on top. I don't think it's going to be like we waited 9 episodes and then now we still don't have what we. You know what I mean? I have faith that. I don't know why I have faith, but I have faith. Like you said, in Kevin Feige, I trust. So I think it's going to be a great finale. And I might have to stay up till 3. I was talking to Amanda about it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to wake up and then I'm scrolling through and I'm seeing.
First thing you see, Magneto, Michael Fassbender.
I swear.
Yeah, I've never watched any of these, all 8 at 3 a.m. on my time. But this might be the first one.
Might be the one.
About y'all, yeah.
Paul, man, your overall thoughts of this episode, man. I guess to kind of play on the theme of like ranking wise, if this is your favorite episode, kind of in the middle of the episode, and then of course your wonderful theories for next week, my friend.
Yeah, I think probably this wasn't my favorite episode. I would say maybe last week was. They've kind of all. I don't know. It's very much First one, meh. Second one, slightly better. Third one, slightly better. They just kind of keep improving every week. So I would say I'd probably prefer last week over this one, though, just for the general dynamics of it and, the photon Monica scene. I thought was absolutely brilliant. That was really, really good. Had such a good cliffhanger with the post-credit scene. Had the Agatha All Along song. So, bangers. Yeah, just what a great episode.
Yeah.
And for next week, I think Agatha's they're gonna fight her at the start. She's gonna get beaten and leave. I don't think she'll get killed. I think she'll leave. So.
Yeah.
And then S.W.O.R.D will launch White Vision. Vision's gonna kill him in order to, save everyone. The hex is going to start falling apart. Quicksilver's going to have to do his Quicksilver stuff to save people. Both Visions are going to die, and then we're going to get Wanda. Probably, maybe Wanda can keep her kid. I don't think they'll kill the kids.
At least something
that'd
positive.
Be too much.
We're talking Game of Thrones level here of death, right?
Yeah, and
it's their red wedding.
I can see S.W.O.R.D wanting to get the kids. And Wanda being like, you can't have them, and her sort of going on the run. I'm just doing fan fiction at the moment.
I'm loving it, man.
And then I think the post-credit scene will be something with Agatha.
Ooh, Agatha and Doctor Strange having some shawarma. Before we toss it to Matthew, there is a photo that I don't know if you all have seen yet. Let me see if I can pull it up, if the computer will work. This is a Disney official photo, if I'm not mistaken. And someone had brought up when I was looking at the picture, the framing, if this is, true, which it's from Disney, the framing of the shot, it almost makes it seem like there's someone standing behind Billy and Tommy in regards to, we know Marvel likes to manipulate trailers and photos. So tossing it to you, Matthew, regarding your overall thoughts of this episode, but then of course, theories into next week's finale.
So it's crazy that you pulled up this image because one of the things that I am extremely certain we'll get next week is like an Incredibles style fight with like the whole family kind of like circling around each other. I think Vision is going to get there pretty quick to see Agatha holding the kids by their throats, and he's gonna go ham on her. So the kids will get freed, and we'll get that incredible style fight next week. And judging off of this picture, that's pretty much confirmed at this point.
Yeah.
But this last episode, episode 8, I really enjoyed it. My third time around watching it. At first, when I first watched the episode, I think the ending is what really made it feel so underwhelming. But after rewatching the episode and appreciating all of the other stuff that what this episode was consisted of, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was it included some of the greatest writing we've ever seen in an MCU project. One of the greatest scenes I think we've ever seen in the entire MCU. So overall, I think it was a strong episode, but I don't think it did its job in setting up the final episode.
Gotcha.
Properly. So now looking forward to this final episode. The runtime is 50 minutes long, including credits. So I think I agree with you guys. I think Agatha, that fight is going to go down fast, just right off rip at the beginning of the episode. White Vision will enter the Hex. We'll get that fight, Vision versus Vision. I'm still at this point, with the way this episode ended, I'm still doubting if we're gonna see any like major cameos from like Doctor Strange.
Yeah, the Luke Skywalker reveal.
The inevitable at this point, but I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
So that would be great, but the one thing I am certain that we will see is I think we're definitely gonna see Vision die.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get an incredible style fight with the whole family. And I'm still on the fence of whether or not they're going to kill the kids, because if you're talking about something that would really set Wanda off, it's killing those kids. And not necessarily killing them to where they're done in the MCU, because we know they're obviously doing Young Avengers in the future, and I imagine that they're going to be a part of that. Oh, another prediction. I think the kids are going to age.
In this episode? Ooh, okay.
That would be good.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's like something's going to happen where it's gonna be like they have to age in order to like get stronger or something,
right?
And then they age one more time. But this episode has a lot to do. I'm nervous, but again, in Feige we trust. Marvel has never done us wrong in the past, so I imagine that they're gonna over deliver as they usually do.
Fingers crossed, man. I kind of follow it. So for me, this is my favorite episode. I've seen it 3 times now. As we talked about in this breakdown, it's those moments of Elizabeth Olsen's acting, Paul Bettany, even Catherine Hahn hamming it up. I just thought this episode was, and then the origin stories. This was one of my favorite origin stories of the MCU. Brief moment with Agatha, but the stuff we get from Wanda was great. So I think just on a character development moment or episode, this was just fantastic, and the writing was incredible. And then as far as predictions go, like you all have said, I think they're going to take out Agatha pretty quickly. We'll see what comes of Vision versus Vision. As Paul Bettany said, that their scenes are electric. They're fireworks of scenes that they share together. In regards to, is Vision going to be gone? I think it's safe to say that this might be his last time we see Paul Bettany, but I am safe to assume that when we see the White Vision, I would love to hear James Spader's voice come in as Ultron.
I would die for that, bro.
It'd be cool. Yeah.
We know, I saw, I can't remember who. So this isn't my theory, but I saw someone had mentioned, again, going back to the Nexus commercial, just playing into Nexus in the MCU, how Vision hid into the Nexus to kind of hide his identity before Ultron taking him. Maybe Ultron pulled the Vision move and hid himself, and now something's risen. He can just inject himself like a USB into this White Vision, and we now have Ultron back. And as far as like the end result of that fight, I would like to see Paul Bettany make his way back into the MCU, because I love how this is like the 2.0 of Monica, or I should say Scarlet Witch, and seeing her, I think she's going to be a very big character in Phase 4. So I would love to see Paul Bettany get more from Vision, but we'll see. And as far as those kids go, we know that whatever's creating the Hex probably, can't come out of the Hex. And we don't know how the kids were born technically. Again, this is a kid's show. They can't show like pregnancy going on or birth being given. But I hope that these kids make it out, because I think these kids are great. And Billy and Tommy, obviously, are big players in Young Avengers. So we'll see what comes of it. But I'm expecting some big moments, some great moments. Monica still has her engineer out there. I don't know if we'll get that engineer making an appearance. Mr. Blue Marvel, Reed Richards. We'll see. Scrolls. we'll see. But I'm expecting some great moments and a satisfying conclusion to this incredible story of WandaVision, leading into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, of course. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Just kind of our thoughts, our theories, our pros or cons. I hope this was a fun therapy session for you all out there watching this recap with our co-hosts Amanda and Chris and our incredible guests Matthew and Paul. But before, because I know Paul has to head out, he gave us as much time as he can. I'm so appreciative of it. And I know Matt probably has some things to do. Very busy man. So before we have our special guest head out, Paul, man, if you want to kick it off, my friend, with where people can find you, what's next on the docket in regards to a next awesome video you have loaded up for us, man.
Yeah, my editor is currently doing a WandaVision theory video, which pretty much just talks about everything we've talked about today. So don't bother watching it. And yeah, at Heavy Spoilers, just at Heavy Spoilers, wherever you, in all good social media outlets.
Definitely. Hey guys, I'm if you're not already, give this man a follow, subscribe. The content is incredible. The channel's continuing to grow. He's going to be at 600,000 subscribers by next week. He's killing it, man. And Paul, I'm so thankful of your time. I know you're in a whole different time zone, so I appreciate you coming on with us tonight, man. I would love to have you on the future, man. But I appreciate it, man. And tossing it to you, Soups, Matthew, big fan of your content, man. I would love to have you on in the future and do some projects together, man. 100K is around the corner for you as well, man. If you want to let the people know where they can find you and what's next on Soups.
Yeah, guys. So as we all know, WandaVision next week is the season finale is gonna be one of the biggest things ever. So in preparation of the season finale, you know, over the course of these past 8 weeks, it's been such an amazing experience to be able to connect and watch the show with you guys. And I've been hosting live watch parties for every single one of these episodes at 3 a.m. as soon as the episodes drop. So right now, the main video I'm working on is editing the best parts from these watch parties and kind of putting up like a trailer in preparation for this week's final watch party for WandaVision. If you guys are interested in watching the episode live with us, you can check out my YouTube, Soups on YouTube. Again, we're about to hit 100K. If you're interested in my TikTok content, I'm on TikTok, Soups. And then on Instagram, _Soups_, and then on Twitter at The Real Soups.
Awesome, guys. And all those links again for Paul and also Matthew, their links are in the bio. Check them out, guys. You can see they're so great with their breakdowns and their explaining these characters. So again, to Matthew and Paul, thank you guys so much for coming on. Hopefully we can get you back on the channel for maybe Falcon and Winter Soldier, and all the great stuff we're getting from the MCU. But again, I appreciate you guys, and hopefully we'll see you guys again in the future.
Take care.
Thank you for having me.
Take care, guys.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Take care, guys. Alrighty, guys. So we are left with the final three. Amanda and Chris, we got some stuff I wanted to kind of bring up with you guys in regards to some MCU news. We didn't get a lot of stuff, but we got some stuff to talk about. And before we transition into kind of some MCU news that we got for the week, again, guys, check out those content creators. Again, Amanda, Chris, Paul, and Matthew. All their links are in the bio, so definitely show them some love and check out their content. But we're going to transition into, like I said, really the only big news that we got from the week was Spider-Man. Spider-Man got a title. And Chris, I know you're a big Spider-Man fan, man. What did you think of this title here of Spider-Man No Way Home? Starting with you, man.
Yeah, very, very cryptic. I don't really care what the title is, but I love the clip that they released for it. I got to see Zendaya. I got to see my man Holland. So, and then breaking this down was dope. Just so much like humor in it, like the Home Alone. I'm a big Home Alone fan. Just genius, man. Like Marvel, they just don't know how to lose. So I'm really excited for the movie. I can't believe that I'm getting it this year. I'm hyped. That trailer, that after Mortal Kombat, that's probably my second most highly anticipated trailer for 2021 is going to be the Spider-Man trailer. So
man, it's going to break records, man.
Nah, that's going to be the biggest trailer since probably the Endgame trailer. But it's all good with me. No Way Home. It's got a dark little ominous feel to it. I'm excited to see how they flip it, man. I'm going to need this. I'm going to need this one.
I mean, I guess kind of playing on that and tossing it right back to you, Chris, regarding No Way Home. What do you think that alludes to? And also just, we got the set photos of our trio. A lot of people theorizing that photo in the middle of Zendaya and Jacob and, Tom is, that's Doctor Strange's head. They're at his, sanctum. So just your thoughts again on that title. And again, I guess, is there any of those titles in that clipboard or that board that you would have liked to have seen instead?
I think the genius besides the Home Alone joke, it was the work from home. My God, in COVID, genius. And then the homesick one was crazy. I was like, yo, not only are you homesick, but you're homesick with COVID. I was like, this is meta.
Another level.
But yeah, I think I thought of it as not so much like Tom, but I thought it maybe like if the other Spider-Mans, they can't get home from get back to their multiverse, kind of like very Miles Morales-y, but
yeah,
we'll see how they flip it. But yeah, I'm hyped.
Yeah, and they even someone brought up here, the glitching in the TV, very similar to Wanda, as well as the hexes on that board too. Yeah, but again, man, the same question for you. Your thoughts on this title, as well as your thoughts on what it could allude to, and just your excitement level for. To me, is it me or is this a little bit too early though? Right, it's coming out in December, and we've yet to see a trailer for the Eternals and Shang-Chi. It's kind of weird. I don't know if this is a Sony thing. Like Sony's like, hey, we still got movies to make. Put out our stuff. It's kind of weird marketing to me, but I digress. But your thoughts, Amanda?
I agree with you. I was so pissed off the entire night when they trolled us. You have no idea. Well, you do. You saw my tweets. I was losing my freaking mind because I run a social media page for Geek Bomb.
Yep.
And I'm on the other side of it where I have to break this news. So I'm like, guys, oh my God, I saw it on Tomo's Instagram. And then everyone was fact checking me. Actually, Jacob actually tweeted on his Instagram, and then this one, and then Zendaya dropped. I'm like,
home wrecker,
guys,
home
I liked Home Slice. That was funny. That was a good one. I'm like, thank you, Zendaya, for that one. But going back to this, I love the title. As Chris said, I do think that it's going to be a multiverse situation. The glitching in that little teaser kind of reminded me of Into the Spider-Verse. It was the same kind of style in that way. So I think that there's a link there. Also having home worlds on the board kind of gives it away a little bit more. I'm so stoked. I am freaking excited for this. I know that a teaser trailer is coming soon. I can't believe it's this early, like you said, but honestly, after all that trolling and then the day after, I'm like, thank God. Because if we had to wait, I would have been pissed. But anyways, yeah.
I wonder if we have to wait to Black Widow to get the trailer.
Yeah, but to me, is it just me, or is it weird that we're gonna get a Spider-Man 3 teaser trailer that comes out in December, and we have yet to see any footage of the Eternals, any footage of Shang-Chi, which those films are coming out before Spider-Man. It's just weird. Again, I guess correlation to release dates, it ties into WandaVision. So they're probably playing on the idea that, people are talking about the multiverse, and these two films are probably going to be more involved with the multiverse and Shang-Chi and the Eternals. But I'm right there with you all. I'm super stoked for it. I love the clipboard. I love just the meta nature of Spider-Man. And this is, to me, if there's one thing I'll say about John Watts, I think he's now starting to, this is his flavor. This is what we're going to probably see from, Fantastic Four, just kind of playing into just the idea of having fun with the marketing. Whoever they cast as the Fantastic Four is going to be a big thing, but I love just playing around with the titles. I like the No Way Home. I think Chris alluded to it. I think it does mean that whoever is going to come into the multiverse, whether it be Electro, Doc Ock, and of course, if the theories are to be true or the rumors to be true about Toby and Andrew making their way into it, then how are they going to get home without, the multiverse might have to be shut down with the chaos going on in Doctor Strange 2. But I'm really excited for it. The pictures look great. Again, I think the one in the middle, a lot of people are I'm pretty sure that will be Doctor Strange, who has been casted. Benedict Cumberbatch has been casted in Spider-Man 3, and I think they're going to be staying at his place. He's been gone for 5 years, so is there another Sorcerer Supreme that he has to, battle with to get back into his title there? But also, we know Peter Parker's on the run, and there was also rumors that they're casting people for a courtroom scene, which we're all theorizing is maybe Daredevil, Charlie Cox representing Mr. Peter Parker in his trial of murder. But no, this is exciting stuff, man. I'm really looking forward to it. It would be really interesting because someone actually just brought up in regards to Venom. Wouldn't it be interesting if we're thinking No Way Home is for someone else, but what if it's Tom Holland? What if he gets trapped into the Sony verse, Morbius, Venom, Carnage and all that? And just stick with me for a bit. But what if the next Spider-Man film is a Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield led movie and no Tom, which I doubt they'll do no Tom Holland, but he's in Sony and we have a Marvel version of Spider-Man. That would be pretty wicked. Amanda, your thoughts on that?
Oh my God, yes. I had a theory actually that they would switch out Tom for Andrew so he could kind of get his his glory because he didn't finish his trilogy, right? So because Tom also said that he's taking a break for a bit, so we don't know how long that break's going to be. Not that he's not going to play Spider-Man anymore, but I do think during that break we could switch it. But I like your theory so much better, so we're going to go with that one. It sounds way better. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, and then even Michael brings up here in regards to Tom. Yeah, just the other day he mentioned that he doesn't have a contract right now. And I think he also said in that same article, I'm pretty sure that Sony and Marvel won't have what happened 2 years ago of them breaking up and then coming back. I think they're going to figure something out to continue to have him as Spider-Man or continue to have other Spider-Man in this world. And Miles Morales is out there. But your take on this, Chris, regarding Tobey being Tobey or Andrew coming in for a Spider-Verse film and Tom is somewhere off fighting Venom and fighting Morbius. Just any theories on all that?
No theories on that. I'm all for it. I've been waiting for Carnage. I was waiting for Venom, and Venom it's not a bad movie. It needs Spider-Man. I've always liked Andrew. Like an unpopular opinion, I always liked Andrew. He's just too cool to be Peter Parker, but I thought he was a good Spider-Man. But I need all the Spider-Mans.
All of them. Hey man, it'll be really interesting to see too. Again, this movie is stacked right now. If the rumors are to be true, with different Spider-Man, different villains, Doctor Strange, we still have the continuation of Far From Home. There is a lot going on with this movie, and I'm excited for it. I think, like you said, Chris, is not going to only be the biggest trailer of this year once it drops. Maybe next to, once we get that next Batman trailer, which I can't wait for because that broke the internet. But I think the hype level, it did. And it'll be, I hope that it sticks this December release date. Hopefully everything will. Because again, if we talked about it weeks ago, Black Widow gets pushed back again. Does that affect Spider-Man? Does that affect Sony? We'll see. But I mean, they did say in theaters come December, so they're sticking to their guns. So we'll see what comes of it. But everyone in the chat, I love your theories, your comments. If you're watching this on the replay, let us know your thoughts on the title, your theories on the title, what you would like to see in the future for the Spider-Man character, and let's have a good discussion about it. And the last this isn't really big news, but it is something to talk about because it's a Disney Plus show. Loki got its official release date, which is June 11th. You talk about trailers, Chris. I was excited for Loki. I was looking forward to it, seeing this different version of him taking the Tesseract from Endgame, which technically that's the one Infinity Stone that wasn't able to be returned from Captain America. So it'll be really interesting to explore that. But I'm super stoked for this show after seeing the trailer, the time variance, and maybe MODOK and getting some Kang the Conqueror. They're messing with time and all that stuff, man. But Chris, man, what's your take on Loki and your excitement level for the show, man?
I say it every week. I was waiting on Loki the most, out of the three shows. It was Loki, then it was WandaVision, then it was down here at Falcon and Winter Soldier. Which
every week.
Every week. I gotta be consistent to the viewers. The viewers need to see it. This dude is consistent. I know when it comes out, it's going to be dope. I'm going to be like, well, that's actually really good.
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
We'll get it. Let's get that out of the way. So, I mean, now WandaVision might creep up. I still think WandaVision might end up being better than Loki, but Loki is another character, just like how I like Vision, like my little off-brand, weird characters that I just love. I love Loki and I love Vision. So, I'm all about the trailer was dope. And anytime I can get some more of that mischief, I'll take it.
Oh yeah. Amanda, your take on, Loki getting the official June release date, which I think would, if Falcon and Winter Soldier is 6 weeks, I can't do the math in my head, but I think it lines up to, we'll probably get a 2-week break between Falcon and Winter Soldier and then jumping into that. Maybe Black Widow would have been out by May. So we would have gotten a lot of MCU content, but June 11th, Loki, excitement level for it.
Same as you, I saw that trailer and I was like, oh my God, I didn't expect it to be that good. And my hype level just went to 100, and Tom Hiddleston deserves his own series, I think, because everyone loves Loki. So I think we get to explore him a bit more, which I'm so excited for. Exactly. Why are you hating on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I'm typing
there.
like Kermit.
Right there. But yeah, I'm so excited. It's a great early birthday present for me in June. So yeah, I love him. It's gonna be great.
It's going to be fantastic. And I think for Dan's comment here, I think he's right. I think they did say, I thought it was May that it was supposed to come out, or just like loosely thought it was going to be in May. But again, we'll see what happens with Black Widow and obviously the different release dates, schedule shifting. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this show. I think my excitement level, like Dan just said, and like Amanda said, and Chris as well, the trailer was awesome. Like that trailer was just so dope. The score, like Loki's new score that they're implementing in that trailer was fantastic, which really gets me excited. For all my Lovecraft Country fans out there, Wumi Mushaku is in this show. I'm a big fan of her work. I loved her as Ruby in Lovecraft Country, and just love her as an actress. And for my horror fans out there, His House was one of my favorite films last year. So she's great. I could never say her name. It's like Mama Ruab. I could never say her name. Like she's a fantastic actress. She's going to be in the show. We have Owen Wilson and of course, Tom Hiddleston and all the great people that they've casted. Time travel is one of my favorite things. I always talk about Dark as my favorite time travel show and just content sci-fi. So I love sci-fi. I love time travel. Can't wait to see what they do with that. What is, Loki in time? Is he going to disrupt the time, timeline? And we're going to see alternate versions of the characters. Is Thor going to make an appearance? Is Heimdall, we see that at the end of the trailer, he gets sucked into the Bifrost. Is he going to be able to, come back? Because, Idris Elba is a megastar. So there's so much that can happen with the show, and I can't wait for it. I think this show, like Falcon and Winter Soldier, is going to be like an hour or 45 minutes to an hour. And they already got announced for season 2, which speaks highly of the show. So sign me up. Sign me up. I can't wait. But again, that was the last news story of the day. And again, I can't thank Chris and Amanda enough for coming on every single week with me and our guest. And just a quick announcement. I know Amanda and I talked about it a little bit off camera. And I'm going to talk to Chris about it too, but I'm planning on doing a watch along as well. I don't know if I'll do the Soups thing at 3 a.m. to watch it, but I'm thinking for everyone that's live in the chat, make sure you're following me on Instagram and checking the community tab on YouTube. But I'm thinking about doing a watch along for the finale with some, hopefully Chris could maybe join us. I'm thinking either Friday or maybe after Saturday stream or maybe just Sunday, and we'll hang out a Sunday night and watch the episode and break it down together. But mark your calendars for next week. We will be doing a watch along for WandaVision. Just a matter of figuring out the time and the date and seeing if I can get some people on there. I don't know, man. I don't know.
For sure. I say it now, and then that alarm's gonna go off.
I know, right?
Exactly.
Knocked out.
Exactly.
But you gotta just stay up. You can't sleep.
You can't
You
sleep.
gotta just stay up.
I made that mistake twice. It's just not a good idea.
Take that little 10 p.m. nap. Get you right. I wake up to so many iPhone launches. Like I'm used to this. I can handle this.
We'll see. But definitely mark your calendar. We'll be doing a watch along, and hopefully I can have these two wonderful people joining me on that watch along. So keep your eyes out for that. But before we head out, man, Chris, man, if you want to let the people know where they can find you, what's the next thing we can expect on Taste Take?
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys having me on, of course. And everyone can find me at Tate's Take. All the links in the bio, for my social media, my Instagram, my Twitter, and all that kind of stuff. My next video, I'm gonna let Amanda tell me what to review next. I don't know what to watch next. I'm not even gonna hold you. So I'm gonna let Amanda tell me, hey, you're gonna have to review this next, and I'm gonna do it. That's a real thing. She doesn't know that. I'm just telling her right now. Yeah, it's been a weird little time for content right now. I feel like and a lot of stuff's been kind of underwhelming. You guys didn't like Cherry, and it's
yikes.
Yeah. There's some stuff coming out that should turn it up for March, but yeah. So I'm excited. Yeah, March is gonna have some things. And then fucking Tom and Jerry, like, oh come on, like,
I didn't even bother with that.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely, guys, check out his YouTube, check out his other social media accounts, Twitter, and all that fun stuff, man. And then Chris, can't wait to have you back on next week. And hopefully, again, if the schedule works out, watch along next week, my friend. I'd love to get you on that panel. And then Amanda, of course, we got some Golden Globes, we got some stuff to talk about. Raya and the Dragon. So as far as content for you, what can we expect this coming week?
Yeah, Chris, I will definitely message you a list of films, an entire list now that you asked
Thank
me.
you.
No
Thank you.
problem. And you have to watch them. It's on tape.
All right.
Okay,
It's
you
a
have to
deal.
watch it. Okay. So you guys can find me at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I will have my Golden Globes prediction video either up tonight or tomorrow. I'm very excited for the Globes tomorrow. It's always like a very interesting watch. Tina and Amy are back, and I'm just excited to experience that with Film Twitter this year because it's going to be in shambles, and we know that it's going to happen. So just keep it locked there. I'm going to have my Raya and the Last Dragon review up as well. I'm so excited. That movie was beautiful. I enjoyed it a lot. And thanks to Chris and Elliot for always having fun on Saturdays. I'm so excited every week. And thanks, you guys.
No doubt. Looking forward to your review on Raya. And then, Chris, you got a suggestion here in regards to MM doing a video of movie and shows you're looking forward to. That would be a nice little video to look forward to.
Yeah,
man.
I've never done a video like that, so that might be the wave to get into. Yeah.
There you go, man. There you go. But again, to my amazing co-hosts, Amanda and Chris, to our amazing special guests that we had on, Matthew and Paul. Again, mark your calendars as far as, we're going to do a watch along. We have some great guests coming on next week. We got 3 guests. I don't want to announce them yet, but they have confirmed that they will be coming on. I'll let my co-hosts know who will be coming on next week. But definitely tune in for next Saturday's live stream. It might be 4 hours. I don't know. We'll see what this finale gives us. But again, I appreciate you guys tuning in every single week live. Before you guys head out, if you haven't already, give the video a thumbs up, share the video, and then once this video ends, comment your thoughts on the live stream, the discussion that we had, as well as if you're watching us on the replay. Would really appreciate it. Guys, thank you again for an awesome Saturday. Can't wait to see you guys again. You guys stay safe. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
For sure.